Chapter 45-54. Lu Yunfeng, what do you mean by that? Is there a problem with Xiaofeng's identity? The 10 family heads looked at Lu Jijin and asked nervously. I don't know. Because I didn't see it with my own eyes. But I was thinking that since Qin Feiyang could let the sea python demon emperor impersonate him, he could also let others impersonate your children. Lu Jijin said. Impersonation. The 10 family heads looked at each other. In that case, the people who self-destructed in front of them might not be their children. Moreover, if I were in your shoes, I definitely wouldn't kill your child like this. After all, they are the descendants of the direct family. Keeping them alive is more valuable than killing them. Lu Jijin said. What you said makes sense. They might not be dead yet. The 10 family heads' eyes trembled, and a trace of hope was ignited in their hearts. Lu Jijin looked at the 10 family heads and walked to the front of the emperor. Bowing, Your Majesty, I am also in the wrong. Huh. The emperor looked at him, puzzled. What wrong did you do? The one who carried out the plan wasn't me. Princess Yuxian was suspicious. My mistake was that I didn't tell Dong Hanzong about these details. I thought that a smart person like him would consider these small details, but I didn't expect him to ignore them. If I told him this at the imperial palace and let him be more careful, perhaps this wouldn't have happened. Lu Jijin blamed himself. The emperor looked at Lu Jijin with eyes full of admiration. Then he looked at Dong Hanzong and said angrily, Do you see that? As the one who carried out the plan, not only did you not reflect on yourself, but you also blindly shirked your responsibility. Look at Lu Yunfeng. This matter has nothing to do with him, but he took the initiative to take responsibility. Facing him, don't you feel ashamed? Dong Hanzong lowered his head and clenched his fists tightly. You have disappointed me too much. In the 4 continents, you have already fought with Qin Feiyang and the others. You should know them the best. But now you actually made such a low-level mistake. You didn't even confirm their identity before making a deal with them. I really regret letting you carry out this plan. At this moment it was indeed too late for regrets. Why did he listen to Dong Qingyuan's instigation? Why didn't he use Lu Yunfeng, who was a talented general, instead of Dong Hanzong, who was an idiot? Right now, not only had his plan failed, but he had also lost his source energy. It was even more crucial. Dong Xiaofeng and the other 10 people were also unable to find the culprit. After wasting 100,000 strands of origin energy and failing to save 10 people, the clan heads of the 10 great clans would definitely not let this matter rest. Your Majesty, I'm really innocent. If I were to make a deal with Qin Feiyang, I would definitely think of these things. But this time, the person who made the deal with Qin Feiyang was the monarch. It was him who didn't think of these problems. No matter what, you can't blame it on me. Dong Hanzong looked aggrieved. Bastard! The emperor was furious. He was clearly in the wrong, but he didn't know how to repent. He kept on quibbling and shirking responsibility. He didn't have any sense of responsibility at all. He was really blind. How could he put such a person in an important position? Dong Hanzong, the person who made the deal with Qin Feiyang, is indeed the monarch. But you have to be clear about one thing. You are the executor of this plan. The monarch is following your arrangements. Moreover, the monarch hates Qin Feiyang to begin with. As the saying goes, when enemies meet, their eyes turn red. It's already not easy for the monarch to endure the killing intent in his heart and make a deal with Qin Feiyang step by step. Lu Jijin sighed. But he's the monarch, the dignified monarch. Doesn't he have any brains? Dong Hanzong roared. The inner demons mocked. But you're the deputy commander of the Death God army. Why don't you have any brains? You. Dong Hanzong stared at the inner demons angrily. If looks could kill, the inner demons would have been executed by 1,000 cuts. You shut up. If I were you, I wouldn't have the face to speak now. Princess Yuxian said angrily. This person was truly a laughingstock. Dong Hanzong's eyes trembled. Looking at Princess Yuxian's eyes, he knew that he would never have the chance to capture this woman's heart. Damn it! Why did it turn out like this? It was originally an opportunity to soar, but it turned out to be so embarrassing. The monarch took a deep breath and said, I announce. In an instant, everyone looked at the monarch and held their breaths. Because those who knew the monarch knew that when the monarch called himself, something big must have happened. With immediate effect, Dong Hanzong is deposed as the deputy commander of the Death God Army. Dong Qingyuan is deposed as the commander of the Death God Army. In the future, he will be responsible for guarding the gate of Imperial Capital Mountain, the monarch said. What? Dong Hanzong's face turned pale. Dong Qingyuan's eyes trembled. He looked at the monarch and said, Your Majesty, why am I being punished too? Don't you know why I'm punishing you? The monarch roared. If it weren't for your instigation, would I have let Dong Hanzong carry out this plan? If it weren't for Dong Hanzong's stupidity, would this plan have failed? Punishing you is already a light punishment. If it weren't for your loyalty, I would have killed you already. Dong Qingyuan's body trembled when he heard that. He slowly collapsed to the ground, his face ashen. Princess Yuxian asked, Father, who will replace the commander and deputy commander of the Death God Army? The commander and deputy commander will be announced after I discuss it with your mother. As for now, the monarch looked at the inner demons and Lu Jijin and said, Lu Yuntian, Lu Yunfeng, I order you to lead the Death God Army to track down the whereabouts of Qin Feiyang and the others. Yes, Your Majesty. The two of them bowed and replied. Everyone in the Death God Army, listen up. Cooperate with Lu Yunfeng and Lu Yuntian. Anyone who dares to disobey will be killed without mercy. The monarch shouted. Yes, Your Majesty. The tens of thousands of people in the Death God Army shouted in unison. The inner demons and Lu Jijin looked at each other with a smile in their eyes. They were undoubtedly one step closer to their goal. The monarch looked at the Kuan Pong and the Dragon God and said, You must also lead the demon kings and beast kings under you to assist the brothers. Don't be foolish like Dong Qingyuan. Okay. The two of them nodded. At this moment the inner demons and Lu Jijin's status rose by a large margin. Because not only the Death God Army, but even the Kuan Pong and the Dragon God had to listen to them. The strongest forces in the Central Dynasty were the Death God Army, the Kuan Pong Sea region, and the Sky Dragon Mountain Range. Now that these three forces were in the hands of the inner demons and Lu Jijin, didn't that mean that they controlled almost half of the Central Dynasty? Moreover, the main families were also under the control of the inner demons and Lu Jijin. Because the Will of Heaven powerhouses of the main families were in the 10th squad, directly under the two of them. Thus, at present, only the 10 great direct family clans and those unknown branch family clans remained. The side families didn't need to be bothered. And the 10 main families wanted to be on good terms with the inner demons. So, the two of them were at the peak of their power in the Central Dynasty. Don't disappoint me. The monarch looked at the inner demons and said, We will do our best. The two bowed. The monarch smiled and looked at Dong Hanzong and Dong Qingyuan, coldly snorting, useless trash. Then, he opened a space tunnel and left with Ji Suyi. Lu Yunfeng, Mingho, I'll leave them to you. If you need any help in the future, don't hesitate to ask. The 10 patriarchs gathered around and looked at Xinmo and Xinmo. Lu Jijin smiled. As long as they're alive, we'll do our best to save them. Thank you. The 10 house lords thanked him and looked at the two, coldly laughing. Serves them right. Then they opened a space tunnel and left. After watching them leave, Lu Jijin turned to the monarch and smiled. Thank you for your hard work. It's nothing. The Divine King waved his hand and glanced at Dong Hanzong, coldly snorting. As long as you're unhappy, we're just wasting our efforts. Divine King, you're a great man. Don't bother with two stray dogs. The inner demons laughed. Who are you calling stray dogs? Dong Hanzong looked up and stared at the inner demons, his eyes filled with murderous intent. Do you even need to ask? Aside from you and your master, who else could I be referring to? The inner demons looked at him mockingly. Boom! Dong Hanzong stood up and opened his Yin Kuan domain. A terrifying aura rolled out. But his aura could only intimidate others. For the inner demons it had no effect. Do you want to fight? The inner demons smirked and shouted, Death God Army, heed my command. The members of the Death God Army looked at each other and didn't hesitate for long. They rushed forward and stood behind the inner demons. Although they were a little afraid of Dong Hanzong's strength, the emperor had already ordered that they must obey the orders of the two brothers. Try and see if your Yin Kuan domain can withstand the attack of the entire Death God Army. The inner demons looked at Dong Hanzong and sneered. How dare you? Dong Qingyuan's face changed when he heard that. He hurriedly got up and looked at the Death God Army and shouted. But the members of the Death God army were indifferent. Dongqing'an, do you think you're still the commander of the Death God army? You're just an ordinary person guarding the gate of Imperial Capital Mountain. No, I should call you a watchdog. Everyone, heed my command. Remember to bring some bones to them when you enter Imperial Capital Mountain. After all, watchdogs have to be fed to have the strength to guard the gate. Am I right? The inner demons laughed mercilessly. The members of the Death God army, the monster kings of the Kuanping Sea region, and the beast kings of the Sky Dragon Mountain range couldn't help but laugh when they heard that. The king and the others also couldn't help but laugh. You're too humiliating. The Moon Fairy Princess also looked at the inner demons speechlessly. Even the Kuanping and the Dragon God's faces were red. That was why people said that one shouldn't be too arrogant. Otherwise, once they were in trouble, others would take the opportunity to beat them up. Fortunately, they had been neutral and didn't participate in the dispute between the four. Otherwise, they might have ended up like Dongqing Yuan and the inner demons. Chapter 45-55. Green Wind City. Qin Feiyong and Long Chan changed their appearances and easily entered the city with the enshrined order. Once they returned to Green Wind City, it meant that they were ready to cultivate in seclusion for a period of time. In the Battle of Thousand Devil Valley, Madman used the evil power of Thousand Devil Valley to destroy the 200,000 strands of origin energy in Princess Moon Fairy's hands. At the same time, Qin Feiyong held Princess Moon Fairy hostage and obtained more than 330,000 strands of origin energy. And before that, Long Chan made a powerful move and killed the 9 commanders in Imperial Capital Mountain. In addition, during this period of time they first massacred Sky Dragon Mountain Range and obtained more than 400,000 Ultimate Law's inheritance. Now they used Dong Xiaofeng and the others to obtain 100,000 strands of origin energy. Could be said that the Central Dynasty suffered heavy losses. On the contrary, Qin Feiyong and the others made a lot of money. As the saying goes, quit while you're ahead. After earning so much, of course, they had to make good use of these resources and continue to improve their overall strength. Moreover, after this lesson, the emperor would definitely be very careful in the future. In other words, it would not be easy to continue to plot against the emperor and the Central Dynasty. So, instead of wasting time to think about these problems, it was better to calm down and cultivate for a period of time. After all, strength was king. No matter how smart one was, in the face of absolute strength it was useless. This is too crazy. These bastards, is there really no one who can deal with them? Not only did they obtain 100,000 strands of origin energy, but they also played around with the emperor and the others. Are they trying to defy the heavens? In the city, Qin Feiyong and Long Chan walked leisurely on the streets. Listening to the discussions around them, the corners of their mouths couldn't help but curl into a smile. The Central Dynasty's speed of spreading the news was admirable. They had just returned to Green Wind City, and the news had already spread in the city. Sigh. What kind of sin did they commit? Just a few brats who are still wet behind the ears and have stirred up chaos in our divine kingdom. I really admire those big shots from Imperial Capital Mountain. Each and every one of them is in existence with monstrous power and strength. But now they have been defeated by Qin Feiyong and the others again and again. No, Qin Feiyong and the others are simply toying with the big shots of Imperial Capital Mountain like monkeys. Along the street, in a small tea house, several young men and women sat together, drinking tea while shaking their heads and sighing. That's right. Ever since they broke into the Central Dynasty, there hasn't been a day of peace. Every day I hear about their glorious deeds. I wonder when the Central Dynasty will be at peace again. Typing. It's harder than ascending to the heavens. Didn't you see that Qin Feiyong was determined not to leave until he destroyed the Central Dynasty? To be honest, I'm really puzzled. Have we ever offended him? Why is he targeting us? Everyone in the tavern had their brows tightly knitted together. When Qin Feiyong and Long Chan passed by the tea house and heard these discussions, there was a trace of suspicion on their faces. The ordinary people of the Central Dynasty didn't know about the feud between the Divine Kingdom and the Sky Cloud Realm. Those who invaded the Sky Cloud Realm before were all from the 4 great continents. And the monarchs of the 4 great continents, the Divine King, and the Supremes are all directly under the orders of the Divine Kingdom. The ordinary people of the Central Dynasty might not know about it. Long Chun muttered. Qin Feiyong pondered and suddenly transmitted his voice. Why don't we try and see how they will react when they know the truth? Good idea. I also want to see if the ordinary people of the Central Dynasty are the same as the Emperor Dong Qingyuan and Dong Hanzong, who see the Sky Cloud realm as an inferior civilization and disdain us. Long Chen nodded. The two looked at each other and entered a side alley. Seeing that there was no one around, a phantom pill appeared and quickly changed into a strange new face. Immediately after, the two turned and walked out of the alley, entered the tea house, found a place by the window, and sat opposite each other. What kind of tea would you like to drink? A waiter ran over and asked with a smile. Anything is fine. Long Chun smiled slightly. Okay. The waiter nodded. In this small tea house there was actually no good tea to be found, as long as it could be drunk. After a while, the waiter ran over with a pot of tea and 2 tea bowls, and said with a flattering smile, enjoy. After that, he turned around and continued to busy himself. Qin Feiyong poured 2 bowls, pushed 1 bowl in front of Long Chun, and said with a smile, try it. Long Chun shook his head and laughed. He wasn't a pretentious person. He didn't necessarily have to drink divine tea. In fact, ordinary tea leaves, sometimes tasted carefully, had a different flavor. It's okay. There's sweetness and bitterness. This is just like life. The sweetness comes after the bitterness. After tasting it, Long Chun said with a smile, you're really a cultured person. Just a sip of tea and you can understand the philosophy of life. Qin Feiyong laughed. You're laughing at me. Long Chun shook his head, glanced at the guests at other tables, and deliberately raised his voice. He shook his head and said, I really don't know if the grudge between Qin Feiyong and our divine kingdom is true or not. He deliberately said this to the others. The people in the tea house were all talking about this at the moment. Hearing Long Chen's sudden words, everyone couldn't help but be stunned, and then immediately looked at Long Chun. Seeing the opportunity, Qin Feiyong hurriedly made a gesture to Long Chun to keep quiet, and whispered, don't talk nonsense. After that, he looked at the other guests and said with an apologetic smile, sorry, my brother likes to talk nonsense when he drinks. Don't take it to heart. Drink. Everyone was stunned. Wasn't he drinking tea? Was the tea he drank made of wine? He was obviously fooling them. What did he want to cover up? Sorry. Qin Feiyong smiled apologetically again, and then pretended to be angry, stared at Long Chun and said angrily, what are you talking about? How can you talk nonsense? Yes. Long Chun nodded repeatedly and said with an embarrassed smile, I'll be careful next time. The two echoed each other, which made the people in the tavern more curious. Finally, there was a white-clothed young man who thought he was a man of striking appearance. He picked up his teacup elegantly and walked to Qin Feiyong's side. He smiled and said, brothers, may I sit down and talk? You took the bait so quickly? Qin Feiyong smiled secretly, looked at the young man in white suspiciously, and asked, do we know you? No. The young man in white shook his head and said with a smile, but it's fate to meet. You really know how to make friends. Qin Feiyong smiled helplessly and reached out his hand saying, sit down. Thank you. The young man in white thanked him, and then sat down next to the two, and started to talk politely. Qin Feiyong was speechless and said, don't be so polite. If you have anything to ask, just ask. Brother, you're so straightforward. The young man in white laughed and asked curiously, just now, you two brothers said that Qin Feiyong has a grudge against our divine kingdom. What is it? Is there? I don't think so. Qin Feiyong shook his head quickly. Brother, we're all sensible people. Why are you pretending? The young man in white looked helpless. Qin Feiyong looked hesitant. You're a man. Can you not be so hesitant? What's the big deal? A charming woman in her 30s said unhappily. She simply could not stand Qin Feiyong's way of doing things. I'm not being hesitant, but this is a serious matter. I don't dare to talk about it. Besides, we're just hearsay. Don't take it seriously. Qin Feiyong shook his head. I thought it was something serious. It's just hearsay. Hearsay? What are you afraid of? That's right. Brother, just tell us. We're really curious. If you really can't, you can just tell us a story. everyone said. Even the owner of the small tea house and the waiter looked at Qin Feiyong expectantly. This okay? Qin Feiyong nodded. Hearsay. Everyone looked at Qin Feiyong with great interest. I can tell you this, but you can't spread it around because it will affect the reputation of the central dynasty. Qin Feiyong said in a deep voice. So serious? Everyone was surprised and even more curious. Qin Feiyong said. Do you know where this Qin Feiyong came from? I've heard of this. He seems to be from a small place called Tianyun Realm. Someone said. Yes. Not only Qin Feiyong, Madman Mo, Long Chun, Golden Wing Wolf King, Demon Ancestor Mu Qing, Mu Tianyang, and others are all from Tianyun Realm. And it is said that, many years ago, the king was ordered to invade Tianyun Realm. With the arrival of the army of our divine kingdom, the people of Tianyun Realm were plunged into misery and suffering. There was even a continent where not a single creature was left. All of them died miserably. Qin Feiyong said. There's such a thing? Everyone was surprised. I don't know whether it's true or not. But it is said that the first invasion wasn't enough, so they invaded a second time. But this time they were very unlucky. Because at that time Qin Feiyong and his group of people from Tianyun Realm rose to power. Their strength was heaven-defying. Not only did they suppress the geniuses of the 4 continents, but they also stopped the invasion of our divine kingdom. It is said that even the ruler of our divine kingdom personally came to Tianyun Realm at that time. But for some reason, the ruler of our divine kingdom didn't kill these people. Later, these people began to take revenge on us. They spread to the divine kingdom, killed their way to the 4 continents, destroyed the beast race, the sea race, and made the human race, the purple gold divine dragon race, and the god race suffer heavy losses. But it wasn't enough. They killed their way to the central dynasty and tried to subvert our entire divine kingdom. Qin Feiyong said in a deep voice. As soon as these words came out, the entire tavern fell into a dead silence. Everyone was shocked. Even the ruler of their divine nation, who came to the Sky Cloud Realm in person, couldn't kill these people? How was this possible? Was this a joke? Qin Feiyong and the others were very strong, but they weren't strong enough to confront the ruler of the divine kingdom. It was indeed a shocking news. No wonder these two had been hiding it. If this news were to spread in the central dynasty, how big of a sensation would it cause? Chapter 45-56. Just think about it. The ruler came to the Sky Cloud Realm in person but failed to kill these small fries. What a shame. It would really affect the reputation of the divine kingdom. Someone asked, you just said that the monarch and the others invaded the Sky Cloud Realm under orders. Who ordered them? Of course, it's the ruler of our divine kingdom. After all, even our Lord Ruler has come to the Sky Cloud Realm in person. Qin Feiyong was speechless. Very surprised. Someone could ask such a stupid question. Who could give orders to the monarch, the divine king, and Ji Zun? Why? The Sky Cloud Realm is such a small place. Why did the ruler let the monarch and the others invade? Everyone present had a confused look on their faces. I don't know. Qin Feiyong shook his head. He really didn't know the reason why the divine kingdom invaded the Sky Cloud Realm. It's really strange. It's impossible to invade the Sky Cloud Realm for no reason. Everyone frowned and fell into deep thought. Hey. Don't take it too seriously. This is just a story we told when we had nothing to do. Qin Feiyong hurriedly said. Story? I feel that it's not a story. The Sky Cloud Realm. What kind of magical continent is this? It can give birth to so many monsters. Everyone murmured. Their eyes were full of curiosity. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed slightly, and he said with a smile, in fact, we can't judge the strength of the Sky Cloud Realm. Think about it, if the Sky Cloud Realm is very strong, when our divine kingdom invaded for the first time, would the people of the Sky Cloud Realm be plunged into misery and suffering? That's true. The creatures of the 4 continents can plunge the people of the Sky Cloud Realm into misery and suffering, let alone our central dynasty. It seems that the Sky Cloud Realm is just an inferior civilization. Someone laughed disdainfully. Qin Feiyong and Long Chun looked at each other. These 4 words really made people angry from the bottom of their hearts. Long Chun said calmly, the Sky Cloud Realm may not be strong, but isn't it a bit inappropriate to use the words inferior civilization to humiliate them? There's nothing inappropriate. Inferior civilization is just a bunch of trash. They're just a waste of food. They're not worthy of respect at all. Only our God's nation is worthy of being called an advanced civilization, the God's nation said. The people in the tavern, whether they were men or women, old or young at this moment, they all showed extremely disdainful eyes. Sigh. Qin Feiyong sighed secretly. The performance of these people was quite disappointing. All creatures in the myriad of worlds should be equal, so why did the people of the Central Dynasty have such a sense of superiority? Long Chen frowned. Brother. The young man in white patted Long Chen's shoulder and said with a smile, in this world, no one will reason with you because the world is like this. The strong survive. The Sky Cloud realm is weaker than our divine kingdom, so they should kneel at our feet and bow their heads. Long Chen raised his eyebrows without a trace. Just because the Sky Cloud realm was weaker than the divine kingdom, they should kneel? What kind of logic was that? These people's faces were really disgusting. I know you sympathize with them, but let me tell you, the weak don't deserve sympathy at all. Although Qin Feiyong and his people are making a lot of noise in our Central Dynasty, I believe that sooner or later, they will pay with their lives for this. A young man smiled confidently. Fortunately, Qin Feiyong and Long Chen's temperament was relatively stable. If it were the white-eyed wolf, he would probably start a massacre on the spot after hearing these words. That's true. Qin Feiyong nodded with a smile and hurriedly waved his hand, saying, let's stop talking about this topic. Lest disaster comes from the mouth. But how is this possible? Such sensational news must have spread like wildfire. Even if this news was fake, it couldn't stop people from gossiping. So, although they didn't talk loudly, they were still whispering. Qin Feiyong and Long Chen looked at each other. Since they had already gotten the answer, there was no need to stay any longer. They got up, paid the bill and left. On the street, Long Chen smiled faintly and said, how do you feel? Feel? Qin Feiyong glanced at the passers-by. His cold eyes seemed to be looking at corpses. He secretly smiled and said, now in the Central Dynasty, no one can stop my pace and determination to overthrow the Central Dynasty. Long Chen smiled faintly. It seemed that after this understanding, Qin Feiyong had completely lost his sympathy for the people of the Central Dynasty. The Central Dynasty, they deserved it. Greetings to the two masters. When they came to the City Lord Mansion, the two guards at the door immediately bowed to salute. During the time we were away, how was Green Wind City? Long Chen pretended to ask. Other than Qin Feiyong's group of people everywhere, Green Wind City can still be considered peaceful. But, when the guard said this, he looked a little hesitant. But what? Long Chen was suspicious. Half an hour ago, the City Lord of Flying Dragon City, Dong Daqian, came to our City Lord mansion in person and said he was looking for the young City Lord. The young City Lord didn't want to see him at first, but Dong Daqian kept pestering him, so the young City Lord could only meet him. But until now, Dong Daqian hasn't come out. I don't know what's going on. The two guards said with some worry. Dong Daqian? Qin Feiyong and Long Chen looked at each other. Didn't Dong Daqian always hate Ji Xiaowu? Why did he take the initiative to come to Green Wind City to look for Ji Xiaowu? Masters, we don't have much power, so we don't dare to ask. Why don't you go and have a look? The two guards looked at Qin Feiyong and Long Chen pleadingly. Qin Feiyong pondered for a while and asked, where are they now? They should be in the conference hall. One of the guards thought for a while and said, okay, don't worry, we'll go and have a look. Qin Feiyong comforted them, and then entered the City Lord mansion with Long Chen and walked unhurriedly toward the conference hall. After lurking in the City Lord mansion for so long, Qin Feiyong was quite familiar with all the places in the City Lord mansion, so he knew the location of the conference hall. After a while, a dazzling hall entered Qin Feiyong's and Li Qi's eyes. The hall was more than 10 meters high and covered an area of hundreds of feet. It was the most magnificent building in the City Lord mansion. This time, the door was closed. Outside the gate, there were more than a dozen guards. They all held spears in their hands as they stared at the tightly shut gate. Even from afar, one could feel a sense of impatience from their bodies. It's still a tense atmosphere. Long Chen murmured and looked at the hall suspiciously. What were the two talking about in the hall? Suddenly, Long Chan turned to look at Qin Feiyang and asked secretly, "Do you think Ji Xiao will betray us in the future?" "I don't know." Qin Feiyang shook his head and added, "But I'm willing to believe in senior brother Lunatic's vision. I really envy Lunatic for having a brother like you who trusts him unconditionally." Long Chan laughed secretly. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned, turned his head and looked at Long Chan strangely, and said suspiciously, "You don't still think of yourself as an outsider, do you?" Right now, he had 100% confidence in Long Chan. Furthermore, his trust in Long Chan had already been extremely obvious. But it seemed that this fellow hadn't sensed it. "Don't look at me like that. I'm a little flustered." Long Chan smiled. "You didn't do anything wrong, why are you flustered?" Qin Feiyang was speechless, put his hand on Long Chen's shoulder, and said with a smile, "Don't think too much, we're brothers for life. We trust you and you can trust us. Don't be so mushy, okay? I'm having goosebumps." Long Chan mercilessly slapped away Qin Feiyang's hand, but there was a smile on the corner of his mouth. Brothers for life, this sentence was really touching. At the same time, it seemed to make him a little ashamed. During the conversation, the two walked to the front of the hall. The more than a dozen guards at the door of the Golden Cauldron didn't notice them at all. "What are you doing? So nervous?" Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. "Who is it?" More than a dozen people suddenly quivered, and quickly turned to look at Qin Feiyang and Long Chan fiercely. But when they saw Qin Feiyang and Long Chan, more than a dozen people were stunned, and then they quickly bowed and saluted, "Greetings to the two masters," and, as if looking at their saviors, the worry on their faces immediately disappeared. "No need to be so polite." Qin Feiyang waved his hand, looked up at the hall and asked, "What are they talking about inside?" "I don't know. Since the young city lord entered the hall, there has been no sound from inside. We guess that there may be a soundproof bounded domain inside now," a guard said. "A soundproof bounded domain?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. Although Ji Xiaowu and Dong Daqian were grandfather and grandson, with the hatred between them, there was no need to set up a soundproof bounded domain. "You didn't knock on the door?" Long Chen asked. "No, because we didn't sense the fluctuations of the battle inside." A group of guards shook their heads. "Stupid. Since there may be a soundproof bounded domain, there may be a bounded domain that blocks the fluctuations of the battle. If that's the case, even if Dong Daqian kills Ji Xiaowu inside, you won't hear anything." Qin Feiyang looked at the group of people and shouted coldly, and then strode toward the gate. Ji Xiaowu couldn't die now, and he couldn't fall into Dong Daqian's hands, because Ji Xiaowu knew too many of their secrets. If he couldn't bear the torture and revealed their identities, there may be big trouble. At the same time, when the group of guards heard Qin Feiyang's words, their relieved hearts were in their throats again. Didn't they think of this? If something really happened to the young city lord, they would not be able to forgive them even if they died. Because the young city lord treated the guards and maids too well. He treated them as if they were his family. Qin Feiyang walked to the gate, raised his arm and pushed the gate hard. But the gate didn't move at all, as if it was locked by something. Looking at this scene, the group of guards was even more frightened. If it was just a simple discussion, how could the gate be locked? "I'm very tired, very tired. I'll guarantee 2 tickets today." Chapter 45-57. Qin Feiyang frowned. Boom! The next moment, a terrifying power of law emerged and blasted towards the door of the main hall. Accompanied by a loud crack, the door was shattered. This infuriating scene entered Qin Feiyang and the others' line of sight. He saw an old man in his 50s sitting on the throne at the top of the hall with a domineering aura. Below, a young man in his 20s was lying on the ground dripping with blood. There was no intact part of his body. Could even be said that he was beyond recognition. Young city lord. Seeing this, a group of guards' faces suddenly changed and hurriedly rushed into the main hall. But a barrier appeared in front of them, preventing them from approaching. "Dong Daqian, what did you do to the young city lord?" A group of people was furious. There was indeed a barrier. It was their negligence that caused the young city lord to suffer such abuse. That's right. The 2 people inside were Dong Daqian and Ji Xiaowu. The one sitting on top was Dong Daqian. The one lying on the ground was Ji Xiaowu. Through the barrier, Qin Feiyang glanced at Ji Xiaowu. Ji Xiaowu's current injuries were extremely serious. Not to mention that his body was badly mutilated. His sea of qi was also shattered, and there was a fist-sized wound on his lower abdomen. Blood was gushing out, and his whole body was like a puddle of mud. Maybe even the bones in his body had been shattered. At the same time, Dong Daqian, who was sitting on top, also looked at Qin Feiyang and the others outside the door with a stunned face. He didn't expect that someone could break the door of the main hall, because this was Green Wind City, a very small city, and the guards of the City Lord Mansion were not very good. Before coming, he also sent someone to investigate the City Lord Mansion. He knew that there were a few new consecrators in the City Lord Mansion, but these consecrators did not show very strong strength. Qin Dage saved me. At the same time, Ji Xiaowu heard the movement outside, turned his head weakly, looked at Qin Feiyang standing outside the door, and shouted silently, "That's right." Now, he didn't even have the strength to speak. "Get out of the way," Qin Feiyang said. The group of guards in front quickly retreated to the side. Following closely, Qin Feiyang stepped forward and shattered the barrier with a single palm strike. Seeing this scene, Dong Daqian's pupils shrank. How could the barrier he had set up be so easily shattered? Could it be that this person's strength was stronger than his? Young City Lord. The barrier shattered. A group of guards immediately rushed towards Ji Xiaowu. However, right at this moment, Dong Daqian suddenly stood up, rushed to Ji Xiaowu, grabbed Ji Xiaowu's neck and twisted it. "What are you doing?" The guards roared furiously. Dong Daqian said with a sinister smile, "Get out of here, or I will kill him." "How dare you?" The group of guards left the hall one after another. However, Qin Feiyang and Long Chun refused to budge. "Master Consecrator, the young city lord is in their hands. Don't be rash." The group of guards looked at the two of them in panic. Some of them even pulled Qin Feiyang and Li Wuyo back. "Let go." Qin Feiyang glared at them. The people who were pulling them shrank their necks slightly and immediately let go. Qin Feiyang looked at Dong Daqian and said with a faint smile, "It's really better to meet you in person than to hear about you. You are the new consecrators that this little bastard has invited?" Dong Daqian sneered. "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded and said lightly, "We are old friends with his grandfather. It's really difficult for him to stay in Qingfeng City alone, so we came to help him." Dong Daqian looked at Qin Feiyang and Li Wuyo. There was no powerful aura on them. However, this person could actually shatter his barrier with a single palm strike. He must be hiding his strength, but it didn't matter. No matter how strong he was, so what? As long as Ji Xiaowu was in his hands, the other party would have to hold back. Dong Daqian said proudly, "Do you know who I am? How dare you go against me?" Of course, Dong Daqian, the city lord of Fengyang City, Ji Xiaowu's grandfather. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Dong Daqian shouted, "How dare you block my way when you know? Get out of my way." "Get out of my way?" You are really audacious. Although you are the head of the direct family, as long as you come to Qingfeng City, even if you are a dragon, you have to be obedient. I advise you to let him go immediately, otherwise, don't even think about stepping out of the City Lord Mansion, Qin Feiyang said. Haha, Dong Daqian laughed wildly, grabbed Ji Xiaowu's hand, and suddenly exerted force. With a painful scream, Ji Xiaowu's neck was broken on the spot. "No! Consecrators, please step back first. This Dong Daqian is crazy. He will really kill the young city lord." A group of guards roared and looked at Qin Feiyang and Long Chun pleadingly. Qin Feiyang and Long Chun were helpless. Why did they have so little confidence in them? With them here, not to mention Dong Daqian, even the famous Dong Qingyun would not dare to be presumptuous. Boom! All of a sudden, a terrifying divine power emerged, sweeping in all directions like a tide, and instantly enveloped Dong Daqian. Dong Daqian was immediately shocked to find that his body could not move. How could this be? How could the other party's power be so strong? Qin Feiyang did not release the will of heaven, because he also had concerns. If he released the will of heaven, it may cause unnecessary trouble. Because how could a little Ji Xiaowu invite the will of heaven to be a consecrator? But even so, Qin Feiyang's power was not something Dong Daqian could compete with. I said that when you come to Qingfeng City, you have to coil around me. Qin Feiyang smiled contemptuously. He stepped forward and rescued Ji Xiaowu from Dong Daqian's hands. Then he activated the law of life, and a majestic life energy poured into Ji Xiaowu's body. The injuries on his body began to heal immediately. So strong. Why would such a strong person like you help a stray dog? Dong Daqian roared angrily. Qin Feiyang said, "Isn't it because of you that his family was destroyed? How dare you say that? Because of me? This is ridiculous. Who doesn't know that it was Qin Feiyang who killed Ji Daxiong and the others back then? What does it have to do with me?" Dong Daqian said angrily. "But can you deny that it was not because you forcibly separated them that Ji Daxiong's character changed? If you readily accepted Ji Daxiong and Ji Xiaowu back then, they might still be living in seclusion in the mountains, living happily together," Qin Feiyang said. Dong Daqian roared. "How can a lowly person from the collateral family be worthy of my daughter? So what if you're from the collateral family? You're just a mediocre collateral family." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "Mediocre collateral is still better than lowly people like you," Dong Daqian roared. It seemed that his self-esteem had been hurt. "You keep calling me a lowly commoner. I'd like to see how powerful you, a high and mighty direct descendant, are." Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed fiercely, and a monstrous pressure surged out. "No!" Dong Daqian roared unwillingly and knelt on the ground on the spot, making a hole in the ground. "So what if you're a collateral family member? You're still kneeling at our feet." Qin Feiyang was disdainful. "I'll make you pay the price." Dong Daqian raised his head with difficulty and stared at Qin Feiyang like a hysterical beast. His expression was extremely ferocious. Is this the strength of the consecrator? He's too strong. The group of guards looked at each other. One had to know. This Dong Daqian had mastered the ultimate meaning of the strongest law. But at this moment, in front of this consecrator, he didn't even have the strength to fight back. "Make me pay the price? Don't tell me you think you still have a chance to return to Fengyang City alive." Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with killing intent, and he slapped Dong Daqian's head. Seeing this, a guard's expression changed, and he hurriedly rushed forward, grabbed Qin Feiyang's arm, and shook his head anxiously. "Consecrator, you can't kill him." Qin Feiyang was stunned and turned to look at the guard suspiciously. The guard said in horror, "Fengyang City has a powerhouse with the will of heaven. If you kill Dong Daqian now, they will come to our Green Wind City for revenge." "That's right. You can't kill him. You're very strong, but you're not a match for a powerhouse with the will of heaven." The other guards also spoke one after another. "See, this is the foundation of our Fengyang City. Our clan has a powerhouse with the will of heaven. He can flatten your Green Wine City with a wave of his hand. If you know what's good for you, let go of me immediately and kneel down to apologize to me. Otherwise it will be your end." Dong Daqian laughed proudly. "Kneel down and apologize," Qin Feiyang muttered. The corner of his mouth suddenly lifted slightly and nodded. "Okay, I won't kill you. Are you afraid?" When Dong Daqian heard this, he immediately laughed proudly. "You really don't know what you're talking about." Long Chun shook his head. Why would there be such a stupid person in this world? Didn't he know that he was already half a step into the gates of hell? Did he really think that Qin Feiyang wouldn't dare to kill him? Humans. It was better to have some eyesight. Don't keep courting death. Don't be complacent. Not killing you doesn't mean that I'll let you go. How you treated Ji Xiaowu before, I'll treat you like this now. Qin Feiyang kicked him and the power of law surged. Dong Daqian screamed miserably, and his chi-si shattered on the spot. Then, Qin Feiyang withdrew his pressure, grabbed Dong Daqian's hair, dragged him all the way to the center of the hall, and then threw him on the ground. He looked at the group of guards outside the door and said indifferently, "Help Ji Xiaowu in." The group of guards looked at each other, helped Ji Xiaowu in, and gently put him on a chair next to them. One of the guards cautiously exhorted, "Sir Consecrator, you have to be gentle. Don't accidentally kill him. Your young city lord has been tortured like this, and you still keep thinking for Dong Daqian. Do you have any ambition?" Qin Feiyang was speechless. Hearing this, the group of guards couldn't help but smile bitterly. They also wanted to be more ambitious and kill Dong Dakian to vent their anger for their young city lord. But there was no other way. Their strength didn't allow it. The will of heaven powerhouses in Fengyang City were like an unattainable mountain, pressing on their heads. This time, with the help of the law of life, Ji Xiaowu finally recovered. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Qin, Boss Dong, thank you." Chapter 45-58. Because Qin Feiyang's name in the city lord mansion was Dong Da, it seemed that Ji Xiaowu hadn't been beaten senseless. He knew that at the critical moment, he changed his name to Dong Da. "Do you feel comfortable?" Qin Feiyang looked at Ji Xiaowu and asked. "Yes." Ji Xiaowu nodded. Facing this majestic life energy, he felt as if he was bathing in the sun, and his whole body was extremely comfortable. Qin Feiyang was stunned and said with a dark face, "I'm asking you if you feel comfortable being beaten up?" Huh? Ji Xiaowu sat up straight and looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. Who asked this question? How could he feel comfortable being beaten up so badly? "I think you're asking for it. You know that Dong Dakian hates you to the core, but you still let him into the city lord mansion." Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. "How would I know that he would be so bold to hit me in my territory?" Ji Xiaowu sighed and lowered his head, his face full of regret. "Your territory? It's just Green Wind City. He's just the head of a direct family. Why would he care about it?" Qin Feiyang shook his head. This kid was still too naive. Enough. He just got beaten up. There's no need to keep teaching him. Longchan waved his hand and looked at Ji Xiaowu, asking, "Why did Dong Dakian come to you?" "Heard." Ji Xiaowu looked at Dong Dakian with a trace of gloating on his face. Looking at Ji Xiaowu's expression, Qin Feiyang and Longchan were puzzled. What was going on? He was beaten up so badly, but he still gloated over Dong Dakian's misfortune? "What are you looking at? No matter how poor my Fengyang City is, it's not something your Green Wind City can compare to," Dong Dakian sneered. Qin Feiyang looked at the two guards standing behind Dong Dakian and said lightly, "Shut him up." "Us?" The two of them pointed at their noses and said in shock, "Or do you want us to do it ourselves?" Qin Feiyang's face darkened. Why was he so timid? He dared to let Dong Dakian into the city lord mansion, but he didn't dare to beat him up? The two of them continued to dawdle. He really didn't dare to make a move. "Do you dare?" Dong Dakian looked at the two of them with a sneer. Their pupils shrank. "With the consecrator here, what are you afraid of? Beat him up." Ji Xiaowu shouted. "Young city lord." Their eyes trembled as they looked at Ji Xiaowu. "There's nothing to be afraid of. Aren't you just a powerhouse with will of the heavenly Tao? Our Green Wind City's current strength is not weak either. Beat him up if he dares," Ji Xiaowu said. Hearing this, the two of them gritted their teeth, stepped forward, raised their arms, and slapped Dong Dakian one after another. Slap! The sound of slapping was rhythmic, crisp, and pleasing to the ears. "You're all courting death. I won't let you off. Just you wait for my revenge," Dong Dakian roared. Slapped by two guards? Moreover, he was a pariah of the collateral family. To him, the head of the main family, it was simply a great humiliation. Revenge, is it? The two guards' blood was also stimulated. They shouted, "Since you want to take revenge on us, then let's beat him up first. A slap from you, a slap from me without any mercy." Dong Dakian's face was lacerated in just a few rounds, and blood splattered everywhere. Dong Dakian roared angrily. But it was useless. The two guards' strength was getting heavier and heavier. "Stop hitting him. I beg you. Just let me off this time because I'm Ji Xiaowu's grandfather." This was very realistic. He was still shouting before, but now that he was beaten beyond recognition, he began to beg for mercy to gain sympathy. "Grandfather? Although we're just guards, we've watched the young city lord grow up since he was a child. You old man, have you ever treated him as your own grandson?" Not only these two guards, but the group of onlookers also suddenly swarmed up and punched and kicked Dong Dakian, causing him to wail in pain. If it weren't for the two words grandfather, they wouldn't be so angry in their hearts. What the hell? How did you treat your own grandson in the past? Now you want to curry favor with me? Phew. Looking at the screaming Dong Dakian, The anger in Ji Xiaowu's heart subsided a little. Then, he looked at Qin Feiyang and Long Chan and said, Dong Daqian came to me because of Lu Yunfeng and Lu Yuntian. Qin Feiyang and Long Chan looked at each other. This answer was really unexpected. Why was it related to the inner demons and big cousin? Didn't I happen to meet these two lords when I went to Fengyang City last time? At that time, not only did they help me, but they also let me become a reserve member of the Death God Legion's 10th team. Maybe it's because these two lords can't stand Dong Daqian's behavior, so when they recruited members of the Death God Legion, they excluded Fengyang City. Ji Xiaowu explained. Excluded Fengyang City? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Yes. Now, all the powerhouses of the direct family in the Central Dynasty have entered the 10th team of the Death God Legion, except for Dong Daqian's family. In other words, none of Dong Daqian's family members have entered the 10th team. Ji Xiaowu said. So that's the case. Qin Feiyang and Long Chan suddenly understood. When the inner demons and Lu Jejin took over the 10th team, because of Dong Qingyuan and Dong Hanzong's obstruction, the direct family members didn't like the two of them. However, as the inner demons gradually showed their strength, the direct family members didn't dare to be presumptuous anymore. They even had the intention to curry favor with them. Especially this time. Dong Hanzong and Dong Qingyuan lost their positions as the Legion Commander and Deputy Legion Commander, and became the watchdogs guarding the gate of the Imperial Capital Mountain. Although the Emperor hadn't officially appointed the inner demons to take over the Death God Legion, it wasn't difficult to see from the Emperor's attitude toward them that there was a great possibility that they would become the Legion Commander and Deputy Legion Commander. So now, the prestige and status of the two in the Central Dynasty were like the sun in the sky. Of course, the direct family members weren't stupid. If they didn't curry favor now, when would they wait? As the inner demons and Lu Jejin's status continued to rise, the most anxious person was of course Dong Daqian. Because the other direct family members had already established a friendly relationship with the inner demons and Lu Jejin, but their family didn't. Long Chan suspiciously said, for this kind of thing, he should go directly to Lu Yunfeng and Lu Yuntian. But why did he come to you? He's been there. He's been there several times, and every time he went he prepared a big gift. But Lord Lu Yunfeng and Lord Lu Yuntian didn't want to see him at all, so he thought of coming to me, because he also realized that it might be related to what happened last time. Of course, I wouldn't agree to help him, so he became angry and kept torturing me to force me to agree. Ji Xiaowu sneered. I see. Qin Feiyang and Long Chan nodded in understanding. Old man, you came to ask for help, and you're still so arrogant? The group of guards heard this and became even angrier. Not only did they hit harder, but they also hit harder. How could there be such a shameless old man in the world? Crack. One by one, Dong Daqian's bones were broken and then shattered. The pain was heart-wrenching. Does it feel good? Now we'll treat you the same way you treated our young city lord. And we'll double it. They were no longer afraid of Dong Daqian. Because in their view, even Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng, the two lords, were helping their young city lord. So what were they afraid of? I beg you, please stop fighting. I really can't stand it. Please have mercy on me. Dong Daqian screamed weakly. You still have the strength to shout? It seems that the strength is not enough. Use more strength. A guard sneered. Seeing that the group of guards didn't move at all, Dong Daqian looked at Ji Xiaowu in despair and cried, Xiaowu, my good grandson, I was wrong. Ask them to stop, however. Ji Xiaowu's face was cold. If it were in the past, he might sympathize with him. But the moment he learned that his mother was dead, all the thoughts in his heart were shattered. Only disgust and hatred for Dong Daqian were left. My good grandson. Dong Daqian was extremely desperate. Shut up. In the past, although you often insulted me and even let people beat me up, in fact, I've always wanted to have you as my grandfather. For countless days and nights in the past, I really hoped that one day, when I stood outside your house, you would affectionately call me your grandson and hold my hand to enter your house. But now, these hopes have been completely destroyed. Don't blame me for being ruthless, because this is because you personally destroyed the last trace of hope in my heart. Ji Xiaowu said coldly, without any sympathy or pity in his eyes. The so-called family and bloodline were worthless in his eyes now. People only needed to be strong enough. For example, Lu Yunfeng and Lu Yuntian were not even considered collateral family members. They were just outsiders from the four great continents, but because of their strength, they were highly regarded by the emperor and became giants in the central dynasty. Then there were people like Qin Feiyang and the others. They were all invaders from the Sky Cloud realm. But so what? If they were strong enough, they would still be able to make a name for themselves in the central dynasty. They would still be able to strike fear and despair into the hearts of countless people in the central dynasty. In the central dynasty, who would dare to face the people who got rid of the emperor capital mountain? Even if they were standing in front of you, you wouldn't dare to attack. A guard stopped and looked at Dong Daqian, who was lying on the ground. Murderous intent flashed in his eyes and he turned to Ji Xiaowu. Young city lord, since we've already offended him, why don't we just kill him? Kill? Ji Xiaowu murmured, looked down at Dong Daqian and shook his head. Don't kill him. What? Don't kill him? The group of guards was stunned. If they didn't kill him now, wouldn't it be the same as letting the tiger go back to the mountain? Don't kill him. Ji Xiaowu shook his head and his attitude was firm. But the group of guards hurriedly tried to persuade him, but before they could say anything, Ji Xiaowu waved his hand and said, I've made up my mind. You've beaten him up enough. Just throw him out of the city lord's mansion. Okay. The group of guards nodded helplessly and dragged Dong Daqian, who was like a dead dog, out of the mansion. Wherever they went, they would leave a conspicuous bloodstain on the ground. Chapter 45-59. Qin Dage, Brother Long, will you blame me? After the guards left, Ji Xiaowu looked at Qin Feiyang and Long Chan nervously. Blame you? Both of them were stunned. Such a good opportunity was in front of me, but I didn't kill him. Ji Xiaowu lowered his head. He was like a child who had done something wrong and was afraid of being blamed. Qin Feiyang shook his head and couldn't help but laugh, and he said indifferently, You're doing this for the sake of grasping the will of the Heaven Tao in the future before taking his life with your own hands. How could we possibly blame you for such ambitious actions? How do you know? Ji Xiaowu raised his head and looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. He didn't say anything. Do you think you can hide this from us? Qin Feiyang laughed. Long Chan also had a faint smile on his face. Ji Xiaowu laughed dryly. These two were really powerful. They directly saw through his thoughts. I can understand that you want to take revenge with your own hands, but I hope you understand that people rely on not only strength and means but also here. Qin Feiyang pointed to his head and said. Seeing this, Ji Xiaowu instantly understood what Qin Feiyang meant. He was saying that it was stupid of him to let Dong Daqian enter the city lord mansion. He quickly said, Don't worry, I won't make such a mistake again in the future. This time he was indeed too careless. If it weren't for Qin Feiyang and Long Chan coming back in time, he would have been killed. You don't have to promise me. Your life is your own. Cherish it. After Qin Feiyang said, he and Long Chan looked at each other, got up and strode away. Ji Xiaowu also quickly got up to see them off. After watching Qin Feiyang and Long Chan disappear, he stood at the door, slowly looked up at the sky and murmured, Dong Daqian, just you wait. Sooner or later, I will kill my way to Fengyang City and step into the city lord mansion with my own ability. It seems that I worry too much. Judging from this kid's performance, he won't betray us. Long Chan smiled slightly. Of course, that's for the best. So that we won't have to bury him with our own hands in the future. No one could predict the future. Not to mention an outsider, even the people closest to you may betray you. Therefore, it's best not to have too much hope. Otherwise, when the time comes and you're caught off guard, you won't even know why. Returning to the backyard, the two went straight to the Black Tortoise world. As expected, we don't need to do anything. In the tea garden, when the ingrate saw the two of them return, he immediately grinned and said, Where are the others? Seeing that there was only the white-eyed wolf in the tea garden, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but ask doubtfully, One day in the outside world is equivalent to 5,000 years in the Black Tortoise world. Other than me, who would have the mood to wait for you here? He should have gone back to cultivate in seclusion. How? Aren't you touched to see how much I care about you? If you're touched, then cry. Don't hold it in. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Qin Feiyang and Long Chan rolled their eyes. Stop being so narcissistic, okay? Who's touched? Do you think we don't know what you're thinking? You're just thinking about the 100,000 strands of origin energy. Cough cough. The white-eyed wolf coughed and said seriously, well, you see, you often travel outside. It's really not safe to leave 100,000 strands of origin energy with you. So why don't you leave it with me first? As expected, the corners of Qin Feiyang and Long Chen's mouths twitched. Don't misunderstand. I'm just being nice. The white-eyed wolf hurriedly explained. I say, do you really think we're idiots? Long Chen's face darkened. If you want the origin energy, just say it. Why find a lousy excuse? Be more confident. He does think we're idiots. Qin Feiyang shook his head. What do you mean? We're brothers. You're hurting my heart by talking about me like this. No, you have to compensate me. Since he had already been seen through, the white-eyed wolf went all out and displayed his shamelessness to the extreme. What sin have I committed? That's why I know you. Qin Feiyang's face was full of helplessness. He took out the 100,000 strands of origin energy and threw it directly to the white-eyed wolf. What words? To be able to know me, that's your blessing from your previous life. The white-eyed wolf chuckled. After getting the origin energy, he did not bother the two anymore and left directly. Long Chun looked at the white-eyed wolf's back and said in a low voice, Brother Qin, you have to do me a favor. What favor? Qin Feiyang was stunned and looked at him suspiciously. Long Chun said, you should know my sister's feelings for the white-eyed wolf. I hope you can help me. Don't look for me. Before Long Chun could finish, Qin Feiyang hurriedly waved his hand. What a joke. Who didn't know Long Qin's temper? If they provoked her, they would not be able to rest in peace. Long Chun said angrily, didn't you just say outside that we're brothers for life? You're not willing to help me with such a small favor? That's a different matter. I'll never get involved in this matter. Qin Feiyang shook his head and quickly fled. Long Chun looked helpless. Before he left, his father told him that he must not let his sister and the white-eyed wolf be together. But now what could he do? Even Qin Feiyang did not dare to provoke his sister's temper, let alone him. It was worrying. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. The matter of the 8 Immortals Mountain had been completely spread. The situation of Dong Hanzong and Dong Qingyuan also spread like wildfire. But everyone who heard the news at first had a look of disbelief on their faces. A commander of the Death Army was highly valued by His Majesty, and was regarded as his most trusted confidant. The head of the 5 peerless geniuses, who had a heaven-defying Qianquan domain, and was the #1 person among the younger generation of the Central Dynasty. However, these 2 invincible existences were now sent to guard the gate of the imperial capital mountain? Who would dare to believe such a ridiculous thing? Therefore, many people went to the imperial capital mountain in person to check it out. In the past few days, outside the entrance of the imperial capital mountain, groups of onlookers came and went as if they were watching monkeys. This caused Dong Hanzong and Dong Qingyuan to go mad with rage. They had been in the Central Dynasty for so long. When did they encounter such treatment? Yo! It's quite lively. A strange laugh sounded. The inner demons came through the air, and the crowd surrounding the entrance of the imperial capital mountain immediately retreated to the side respectfully. You guys, aren't they just 2 watchdogs? What's there to see? The inner demons glared at the people present and entered the imperial capital mountain with a smile. Everyone looked at each other and smiled wryly. Although Dong Hanzong and Dong Qingyuan had fallen out of favor and were demoted to guard the gate, their strength was in front of them. They were already on tenterhooks as they watched from the outside, afraid that they would anger the 2. But Lu Yuntian dared to call them 2 watchdogs in front of their faces. He really didn't care about Dong Qingyuan and Dong Qingyuan's feelings at all. Then they looked at Dong Hanzong and Dong Qingyuan. The 2 of them sat below the stone tablet and stared at the inner demon's arrogant back, their eyes filled with anger and killing intent. Everything that they were facing now was all thanks to this person. The anger in their hearts was driving them crazy. Wait! Suddenly, the inner demons patted his head and stopped. What? The crowd outside couldn't help but look suspiciously at the back of the inner demon. I forgot something. The inner demons chuckled and walked to Dong Qingyuan and Dong Qingyuan. What are you doing? The two of them stared at the inner demons and had an uneasy feeling. The inner demons lowered his head and rummaged through the interspatial ring. Suddenly, his eyes lit up and he smiled. Found it. Then he took out 2 bones with meat on them. They were about half a meter long and should be the bones of some ferocious beast. They were still dripping with blood. The inner demons threw them in front of Dong Hanzong and Dong Qingyuan and grinned. "These are the rations I brought back for you. You don't have to thank me. I'm a good person." After saying that, he turned around and left with an arrogant laugh. The people outside were dumbfounded when they saw that. Bones? Rations? Did he really think the 2 of them were watchdogs? That was too humiliating. Dong Hanzong and Dong Qingyuan were also stunned when they looked down at the 2 bones with meat on the ground. 3 days ago at the 8 Immortals Mountain, the inner demons said something like that. However, they thought that the inner demons was just saying it out of anger and wanted to humiliate them. It was impossible that he would really do that. However, they didn't expect that he would really throw them a bone today. Boom! There was no suspense. The 2 of them were about to explode. Monstrous anger erupted. "I'm going to tear you apart, Lu Yuntian." With a roar, the 2 of them charged at the inner demons crazily. Their eyes were bloodshot. As expected of a dog. "You even bit your master." The inner demons turned to look at the 2 of them and mocked them mercilessly. Then, a terrifying murderous aura surged out like a torrent. Long blood-red hair, blood-red eyes. In an instant, the inner demons seemed to have transformed into a god of death. They're going to fight just like that? He's strong. He's domineering. He's not afraid of Dong Hanzong and Dong Qingyuan at all, the crowd outside muttered. Their eyes were filled with respect for the inner demons. However, just as Dong Hanzong and Dong Qingyuan were about to reach the inner demons, a majestic voice suddenly sounded in the imperial palace. "You still don't know how to stop guarding the gate? Do you want me to cripple your cultivation and throw you out of Imperial Capital Mountain?" The voice was as loud as a bell, resounding through heaven and earth. Dong Hanzong and Dong Qingyuan trembled and quickly stopped. They looked at the imperial palace in the distance and shouted, "Your Majesty, Lu Yuntian humiliated us first," however. Before they could finish, the emperor's voice sounded again. "I don't want to see it a second time. Go back and continue guarding the gate." Hearing this, the 2 of them stiffened. No matter how angry and aggrieved they were, they could only silently turn around and walk toward the entrance. It wasn't easy to find these 2 bones. Remember to chew them. Don't waste them. The inner demons grinned and retracted his murderous aura. He turned around and left without looking back. The emperor didn't say anything after humiliating Dong Hanzong and Dong Qingyuan. Sure enough, the ones favored now are these 2 brothers. The commander and deputy commander of the Death God army can't escape. People muttered. It was truly unbelievable that 2 people from the 4 great continents with different surnames could gain such high status and power in the central dynasty. Chapter 45-60. Dong Hanzong walked to the stone tablet, lowered his head, and pondered for a moment. A vicious light gradually appeared in his eyes. He said telepathically, "Master, I've had enough of this kind of oppression." Huh? Dong Qingyuan looked at him suspiciously. Why did he suddenly say such a thing? They're just 2 people with different surnames. What right do they have to be arrogant in our central dynasty? And His Majesty, Lu Yuntian humiliated us and even treated us like dogs, but he turned a blind eye to it. Instead he scolded us. Isn't he obviously biased? Dong Hanzong said to himself. He was very unconvinced. However, he didn't think about it. If it weren't for him, who had repeatedly targeted the inner demons and Lu Jijin, would the inner demons target him? In short, he had only himself to blame. And then, Dong Qingyuan asked secretly, "I want to rebel." Dong Hanzong's eyes darkened. What? Dong Qingyuan's expression changed. He said to himself, "You're crazy." Yes, I'm crazy. I'm driven crazy by His Majesty. All these years we've been on Imperial Capital Mountain. Even if we didn't make any contributions, we've worked hard. Besides, we're from the same clan. No matter what, he can't treat us like this. Dong Hanzong said in a deep voice. Dong Qingyuan was silent. "Master, with our strength we'll have great power wherever we go." Why do we have to suffer in Imperial Capital Mountain? I know you're loyal to His Majesty, but look at how His Majesty treats you. He actually made you guard the gate of Imperial Capital Mountain. I feel it's unfair for you. Dong Hanzong instigated. He heard about it. A trace of anger crept onto Dong Qingyuan's face. That's right. I'm loyal to the Central Dynasty. Why are they treating me like this? I'm not convinced. Most of the people on Imperial Capital Mountain used to be his subordinates. Now that he was guarding the gate here, where could he put his old face? His Majesty, I'm loyal to you. Why are you so heartless? Both of them were typical self-righteous people. They didn't reflect on their own mistakes at all. They only knew how to blame others. However, although Dong Qingyuan had resentment in his heart, he did not have the courage to rebel. Teacher, I know what you're worried about. However, I can assure you that if you are willing to rebel, your future position will definitely not be lower than it is now. Dong Hanzong continued to instigate. Dong Qingyuan was stunned. He looked at him suspiciously and asked, "What do you mean? If we rebel, the Central Dynasty will not tolerate us, so we have to find someone." Dong Hanzong's eyes flashed. Who is it? The matter of a rebellion was extraordinary. Dong Qingyuan could not help but feel anxious at this moment. He was very nervous and perturbed. He was very hesitant. Qin Feiyang. Dong Hanzong enunciated every word clearly. What? Dong Qingyuan looked at Dong Hanzong in shock and anger. He said inwardly, how can you have such thoughts? Qin Feiyang is a mortal enemy of our Central Dynasty. If you go find him, won't you be betraying us? Teacher, is there any difference between us rebelling and betraying? Since the Emperor looks down on us and made us guard the Imperial Capital Mountain's gate, we might as well go find Qin Feiyang and show our worth, Dong Hanzong said in a low voice. That's true. Dong Qingyuan muttered. Rebelling was a betrayal. However, he could not go to Qin Feiyang's side. Moreover, their hatred for Qin Feiyang was as deep as the ocean. Qin Feiyang would not accept them. Teacher, Qin Feiyang is a smart man. He knows our worth. I believe he will accept us, Dong Hanzong said confidently. He had the right to be confident, because he had the Qiankuan domain. He was the strongest in the Central Dynasty. With his help, it would be easier to destroy the Central Dynasty. As for Dong Qingyuan, although he was not as strong as Dong Hanzong, he was the Death God Army's commander and the Emperor's confidant. He knew the Emperor Ji Suyi, the Death God Army, and the Central Dynasty like the back of his hand. So, he was confident that if he went to find Qin Feiyang would welcome them, and warmly welcome them. Dong Qingyuan lowered his head, silent for a long time. After a while, he raised his head and looked at Dong Hanzong seriously, saying, Hanzong, I know that you are very dissatisfied with His Majesty, but let me tell you, I warn you, you must not do anything to betray His Majesty. Teacher, Dong Hanzong frowned. Dong Qingyuan interrupted. Although our Central Dynasty has suffered defeat after defeat at the hands of Qin Feiyang, you should know that Qin Feiyang and the others are not as strong as us. And don't forget, our divine kingdom has an invincible existence. The ruler? Dong Hanzong asked. Yes. Once the ruler returns, killing Qin Feiyang and the others will be as easy as crushing an ant. Let's talk about it later. We are from the Central Dynasty. This is our home, our land, and the cultivation we have today is all thanks to the Emperor. Take you for example. Although your talent is incredible, without the Emperor's training, how can you have the strength you have now? Perhaps you would have died a long time ago. Take the 10 great clans for example. Before you grew up, didn't they do everything they could to kill you in the cradle? It is all because of the Emperor's protection that you can live until today. So now, you can't betray the divine kingdom just because you have been wronged. You will be reviled by the world. Dong Qingyuan tried his best to persuade him. Useless old thing. However, in the face of Dong Qingyuan's advice, Dong Hanzong did not appreciate it. Instead, he was a little angry. What could he achieve by being so wishy-washy? Sure enough, this old thing could only be an obedient lackey by the Emperor's side. I repeat, don't have such thoughts again. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude to you. After saying that, Dong Qingyuan sat cross-legged under the stone tablet and closed his eyes to meditate. Seeing this, Dong Hanzong's hands, which were hidden in his sleeves, could not help but clench tightly. His eyes were full of anger and killing intent. "Old bastard, you'd better not provoke me, or I will kill you too. Get out." Looking at the crowd outside the entrance, Dong Hanzong was furious and roared, "You have been reduced to a watchdog of the imperial capital mountain. Why are you still so arrogant?" Someone muttered, "Who said I am a watchdog? Stand out if you have the guts." Dong Hanzong roared. His anger made him look extremely ferocious. Dong Qingyun suddenly opened his eyes, looked at the crowd outside, and said in a deep voice, "Although we are now in dire straits, we are not people you can offend. If you don't want to die, get out now." As soon as these words came out, the crowd could not help but tremble. That's right. Although the two of them had been reduced to watchdogs of the imperial capital mountain, they were not comparable to them. After all, their foundation was in front of them. Isn't there a saying that goes like this? A skinny camel was bigger than a horse. As a result, the people present dispersed in an uproar. Because they were not the inner demons in Lu Jijin. Even if Dong Hanzong and Dong Qingyun killed them all in anger, the emperor would not say anything. Chapter 45-61. On the other side. Imperial Palace. You good for nothing. The emperor sat on his throne, his face full of anger. The reason why he had Dong Hanzong and Li Qia guard the gate of Imperial Capital Mountain was to use this opportunity to let the two of them calm down and reflect on their mistakes. It was like facing a wall and reflecting on their mistakes. But who would have thought they'd get into trouble with the inner demons? Ji Sui said, "Your Majesty, they were wrong, but isn't it inappropriate to have them guard the gates?" "There's nothing inappropriate about it. They brought it on themselves." The emperor snorted. He told Dong Qingyun not to do such things, but he wouldn't listen. Not only that, he'd become even worse. If he didn't restrain him, who knew what kind of trouble he'd cause in the future? Sigh. Ji Sui sighed. She sympathized with Dong Qingyun and Dong Hanzong, because she was different from Qin Feiyang and the others. Qin Feiyang and the others were eager to see Dong Qingyun and Dong Hanzong fall further and further. But for Ji Sui, Dong Hanzong and Dong Qingyun were her clansmen. Of course, she hoped they'd get better. "I'm doing this for their own good." The emperor shook his head. "I know. You're worried that one day they'll piss off Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng." Ji Sui nodded. "Correct. You know Lu Yunfeng and Lu Yuntian's temperament. They don't care about anything, no matter the cost. Once they're enraged, the consequences will be unimaginable. Plus, back in the 4 great continents, Dong Qingyun killed their families. That was enough to make them angry. If I hadn't stopped them, Dong Qingyun would have been a corpse by now. So we can't let Dong Qingyun and Dong Hanzong continue like this. Otherwise one day they'll fall into their hands," the emperor said. Ji Sui nodded in agreement. "I hope they understand your good intentions. It's best if they do. If they don't, then it's my fault. They're not the talents I need." The emperor shook his head. Ji Sui smiled. "So Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng are the talents you need? They are indeed talented, but they are also 2 wild horses. If I can tame it, it will definitely become my right-hand man. If we can't tame it, I'm afraid it'll be a hidden danger." The emperor's eyes flickered. "Then do you have the confidence to tame them?" Ji Sui smiled. "No matter how fierce the wild horse is, it can't escape from my palm." The emperor smiled proudly. "Don't be too confident. It won't be easy to tame those 2. At the very least, I have yet to think of a way to tame them." She shook her head. In her eyes, the inner demons and Lu Jijin were both highly sought after and troublesome. The emperor pondered for a while, picked up the teacup beside him, lowered his head and took a sip. He smiled and said, "Actually, we don't have to tame them. We just have to tie them up." "Tie them up?" Ji Sui was shocked. "Yes." The emperor nodded. He looked like a scheming old fox. "How do you tie it up?" Ji Sui was curious. "Don't we have a daughter? And from what I've seen, our daughter doesn't dislike the brothers." "No. Not only does she not dislike them, she likes being with them. Thus, if our daughter is able to marry one of them, the 2 brothers will naturally be tied to us." The emperor chuckled. "What?" Ji Sui's face froze and she raged, "I don't agree. What kind of father are you? Using your own daughter's happiness as the price. I'm just saying. It's not like I'll actually do it. The emperor smiled. You can't even say it. No, you can't even think about it. I'm telling you, the moon immortal's other half must be chosen by her. You can't interfere. Ji Suyi warned the emperor sternly. Yes, yes, yes. The emperor nodded. His eyes rolled, and he smiled. But what if the moon immortal is willing? Of course I won't object. As long as she is willing, as long as she thinks he can bring her happiness, I will agree. Ji Suyi said. This was the attitude a loving mother should have. She respected her children's choices, and never forced them to do anything they didn't want to do. Especially the emperor's family. Sometimes children were sacrificed for profit. They had no right to choose their happiness. The emperor smiled. Now let's discuss. Who will be the next commander of the Death God army? Do you have anyone in mind? Ji Suyi asked. You already know the answer, don't you? The emperor smiled bitterly. Of course he had someone in mind. But, Ji Suyi said, if I'm not mistaken, you're talking about Lu Yunfeng and Lu Yuntian, right? And the emperor nodded. In fact, those two are more than qualified. Because in terms of strength they are far above Dong Qingyun. In terms of talent, Dong Qingyun can't compare to them. But you're still hesitating. That's why you're hesitating. They aren't from the Dong or Ji families. Ji Suyi said. You know me best. The emperor sighed. We've been married for so many years, how could I not know you? Ji Suyi smiled. The emperor grabbed Ji Suyi's hand, his face full of tenderness. The luckiest thing in my life is to have you as my wife. We're already husband and wife, why are you being so mushy? Ji Suyi blushed and slapped the emperor's hand away. Dong Tianchen, Dong Xian and Dong Ping aren't bad. Of course I know that. Their strength is the strongest of the younger generation, Li Qie said. But their fathers won't let them join the Death God army. And now they're bound by a blood oath. Joining the Death God army will only bring trouble. The most important point. They're strong, but not as smart as Lu Yunfeng. To be honest, I'm very satisfied with Lu Yunfeng. If he was from the Dong or the Ji family, I wouldn't hesitate to let him become the Death God army's commander. The emperor shook his head and sighed. Why wasn't such an excellent person born in the Central Dynasty? If he was born in the Central Dynasty, he wouldn't have to worry so much. Ji Suyi stood up and walked behind the emperor. She raised her hand and squeezed the emperor's shoulder. There's no need to worry so much. Isn't there a saying? Don't doubt the people you use, don't use. Don't doubt the people you use, don't use. The emperor murmured. Plus, didn't Dong Qingyun go to the 4 continents to investigate Lu Yunfeng's identity? If there's no problem, what's the point of thinking about it? Ji Suyi smiled. The emperor pondered for a moment. Finally, he took a deep breath and nodded. That makes sense. Instead of thinking about it and adding to my worries, it's better to be decisive. Yes. We must let them clearly feel our trust in them. This way, perhaps they will slowly change their attitude towards us and wholeheartedly serve our Scandinavia. Ji Suyi smiled. The emperor nodded. After making this decision, he felt much better. Then what will you do with Dong Qingyuan and Dong Hanzong? Ji Suyi asked. That was a question that needed to be considered. They couldn't guard Imperial Capital Mountain's gate forever. Sooner or later, they'd have to be put to good use. Chapter 45-62. The emperor thought for a moment, then shook his head. We'll talk about it later. I don't want to think about their problems right now. You're a classic case of liking the new and hating the old. Ji Suyi chuckled. Who told them to be so disappointing? The emperor snorted. Then grabbed Ji Suyi's hand. Sit down. I have something important to discuss with you. Ji Suyi looked at him suspiciously, then sat down. Look, our daughter is all grown up. The Central Dynasty has given birth to geniuses like Dong Hanzong, Dong Tianchen, and Lu Yuntian. And their cultivations have almost reached the peak. Should we send them to the Hidden Territory? The emperor asked. The Hidden Territory. Ji Suyi's eyes trembled. It seemed like a very special place. She felt a bit of longing but also a bit of respect. Back then, you and I entered the Hidden Territory. Although we gained many fortunes, we never got what we wanted. It became our lifelong regret. Perhaps the Moon Immortal and Lu Yunfeng can make up for our regrets, the Emperor said. I know. As long as we enter the hidden territory, we will gain something. But the hidden territory is no small matter. And until now, only with Father's permission can we enter. But now, Father has been taken away by the sky-devouring beast and the ice dragon. Without his permission, we can't act on our own. Ji Suyi frowned. Of course I know. But now, we don't know when Father will return. We can't keep waiting for him. Plus, if these youngsters really have the good fortune to obtain the ultimate law's profundity that we yearn for even in our dreams, then not to mention 1 Qin Feiyang, even 10 Qin Fiangs or 100 Qin Fiangs would have to kneel and tremble in despair. The Emperor clenched his fists. Now Qin Feiyang's group gave him a headache and a sense of helplessness. And so, he thought of the hidden territory. Perhaps the mystic realm would allow them to turn the tables around. This Ji Suyi frowned. Suyi, what I'm saying is, if Father doesn't come back and we're in a passive state, what should we do then? The amount of origin energy we have is also limited. With the methods of Qin Feiyang and his group, it's only a matter of time before they exhaust all of our origin energy. At that time, what can we use to fight against them? To be honest, without the origin energy, I really don't have the confidence to face these little bastards. The Emperor sighed. Ji Suyi was silent. She could understand the Emperor's feelings. It wasn't that the central dynasty was incompetent or cowardly. It was because Qin Feiyang and the others were all very capable. Even though there were only a few of them, the combat power of each of them was comparable to an army of death. Qin Feiyang's Eye of Heaven, Dual Wills of the Heavenly Tao, and 3,000 Incarnations. Madman's All-Evil True Body, All-Evil Sword Battle Soul Blood Eye. It was the white-eyed wolf's golden wings and the heaven-swallowing battle soul. Especially the battle soul, which had 4 great talents. Long Qin's God Domain, Mu Tianyang Demon Ancestor Mermaid Princess Mu Qing, Dong Zhongyang's battle soul. Even Li Feng had the invincible killing art, Puppet True Body. The battle at All Demons Valley was the best proof of that. These people were few in number, but their collective power was enough to shake the central dynasty. Never mind the Emperor, even she couldn't help but worry whenever she thought of Qin Feiyang and the others. Once the origin energy is exhausted, it will be the end of the central dynasty. So while we still have enough origin energy, let the Moon Immortal and the others enter the secret territory. As long as they can obtain the profound truth of a strongest law, even if only one of them gets it, we can easily kill Qin Feiyang and the others even if Father doesn't return. The Emperor's eyes flashed coldly. If they can obtain the profound truth of a strongest law, it'll be easy to deal with Qin Feiyang and the others. But even if they enter the secret territory, obtaining the profound truth of a strongest law is as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Since ancient times, only Father obtained the profound truth of death in the secret territory. And the secret territory is extremely dangerous. Back then, Mother died in the secret territory. Even Father couldn't save her. The last time we entered, it was the same. If it weren't for Father's help, we wouldn't even have the chance to enter the secret territory. We would have been crushed in the space-time tunnel. So I'm worried that if we let the Moon Immortal and Lu Yunfeng enter the secret territory, they won't be able to improve their strength. They might even die. Ji Suyi said worriedly. Without risk, where would the rewards come from? To be cruel, as long as one person succeeds, it'll be worth it even if everyone else dies in the secret territory, the Emperor said. His eyes were resolute. Do we have to do this? Ji Suyi asked. Father isn't here, so we have to gamble. The Emperor nodded. Ji Suyi fell silent. The Emperor didn't rush them but waited in silence. Time passed one breath at a time. It felt like an eternity but also like an instant. Finally, Ji Suyi took a deep breath and looked at the Emperor. You decide. The Emperor grabbed Ji Suyi's hand and said softly, Thank you. I promise you, I will do my best to safely send them into the secret territory. Just do your best. Don't force yourself. Ji Suyi smiled. But it was a forced smile. After struggling for a while, she looked at the Emperor. How about the Moon Immortal not go? The Emperor knew what Ji Suyi was worried about inside. Suyi, the Moon Immortal has grown up. It's time for her to spread her wings and soar. She can't always live under our protection. But Ji Sui was anxious. You must believe in our daughter. Our daughter isn't bad. The world thinks she's a spoiled young lady. But what they don't know is that even without the power of origin, her strength is no less than Dong Hanzong's. I believe she will return alive. And she will obtain the ultimate law's profound truth. The emperor clenched his hands, his words full of trust for the moon immortal. Ji Sui looked deeply at the emperor and nodded. All right, I'll listen to you. Thank you. Don't worry. Our daughter won't disappoint us. The emperor patted Ji Sui's hand and turned to the guards outside. Go find the princess Lu Yunfeng, Lu Yuntian, and speaking of which. The emperor hesitated for a while, then said, and Dong Tianchen, Dong Ping, and Dong Exen. Tell them to come see me at the imperial palace. Yes. The guard outside the door responded respectfully. Then he turned around and activated the momentary time. He broke through the sky like lightning. Sorry, I was scheduled to release, but it wasn't released. I only just found out, so I had to release it manually. Chapter 45-63. Why did you send Dong Tianchen, Dong Exen, and Dong Ping to the hidden territory? Ji Sui looked at the emperor in confusion. The three were still bound by the blood oath. As long as the blood oath remained intact, they would be helping Qin Feiyang and the others. I have my reasons for sending them to the hidden territory. Think about it. The hidden territory is dangerous and mysterious. Perhaps there is a way to help them break the blood oath. The emperor said. Ji Sui nodded in realization. If Dong Tianchen and the others were able to break the blood oath, it would be great news for the central dynasty. That was because the three of them were stronger than everyone else. Sealed God Domain, Undying Domain, and God-Slaying Domain. Any one of them could pose a great threat to Qin Feiyang and the others. Of course. Except for the White-Eyed Wolf. There was nothing they could do about it. The White-Eyed Wolf's battle soul could counter their domains. Whoosh! A dozen breaths later. With a sonic boom, the inner demons Lu Jiajin and Princess Moon Fairy entered the palace. Father, mother. Princess Moon Fairy ran to the emperor and his wife. Her snow-white dress was spotless, making her look like a fairy descending from the heavens. Girl, you're getting more and more arrogant. The emperor's face was sour. Ah! Princess Moon Fairy was confused. Where did that come from? Look at yourself. You used to come visit us every day, but now we haven't seen you for days. Do you not care about us anymore? The emperor was displeased. Princess Moon Fairy came back to her senses. So that's what he was talking about. She shook her head. How could that be? Aren't I busy with my cultivation? Are you cultivating? The emperor looked at her suspiciously. Of course. If I don't cultivate, what can I do? Princess Moon Fairy nodded. The emperor said. Aren't you playing with Lu Yunfeng and Lu Yuntian? No. Don't talk nonsense. Princess Yuxian immediately became flustered. Father, are you spying on me? The emperor's mouth twitched. His face darkened. Am I talking nonsense or are you feeling guilty? I'm not playing with them. I'm cultivating with them. After all, they are stronger than me. If there's anything I don't understand, I can ask them. The Moon Fairy Princess stuttered for a long time before she finally found a reasonable excuse. He had heard of it. The couple looked at each other and couldn't help but smile bitterly. Did this girl take them for fools? See, did you see that? Our daughter does have a good impression of Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng. The emperor transmitted his voice. Ji Sui looked at Princess Yuxian, then at the inner demons and Lu Jiajin. She smiled. If that's the case, then who are you going to betroth our daughter to? The one I like the most is Lu Yunfeng. Although Lu Yunfeng hasn't comprehended the law of life and death, his calm mind and steady personality have won my heart. But I know that I don't have the final say. It still depends on who our daughter likes. The emperor snickered. It's good that you know. Regarding our daughter's lifelong happiness, we must let her decide for herself. Actually, I like Lu Yuntian more. Although his personality is arrogant and his methods are ruthless, I can tell that he is a very meticulous person. Ji Sui transmitted her voice. Careful. How come I don't see that? The emperor was suspicious. He could only see arrogance and despotism in the inner demon. You're too focused on the outside. You can't see what's inside. Otherwise, why would Dong Qingyun fool you for so many years? Ji Sui didn't hold back. Of course. In front of the Moon Fairy Princess, the inner demons, and Lu Jijin, she had to give the emperor some face. She didn't say it out loud. The emperor's lips twitched. When have I ever been fooled by Dong Qingyun? You still won't admit it? If you weren't fooled by him, would you still think so highly of him? His strength and abilities are just average, yet you still let him be the commander of the Death God army. Ji Sui rolled her eyes. Cough, cough. The emperor choked and coughed. Father, what's wrong? Princess Yuxian looked at him with concern and asked. Nothing, nothing. My throat has been a bit uncomfortable lately. The emperor tried his best to hide it. If his daughter knew he was being scolded by her mother, wouldn't she laugh at him? Your throat is uncomfortable? The inner demons pouted. The emperor stared at the inner demons, annoyed. Why are you pouting? The inner demon said indifferently. It's a joke for a mighty will of the heavenly Tao to have a sore throat. The emperor's face darkened. You're so careful. You flatter me. The inner demons bared their teeth. Seeing the inner demons acting like a dead pig that wasn't afraid of boiling water, the emperor felt powerless. Even if he had to marry his daughter, it had to be Lu Yunfeng. She couldn't marry that bastard. Your Majesty, why did you call us here? Lu Jijin couldn't help but ask. From the moment they entered the hall, the husband and wife had been exchanging flirtatious glances. They didn't mention anything. Wait for a few more people, the emperor said. Lu Jijin and the inner demons looked at each other, a trace of doubt creeping onto their faces. Princess Yuxian was also puzzled. About 100 breaths later, whoosh, 3 figures flashed through the air and landed in front of the imperial palace's gate. What's going on? Lu Jijin and the inner demons turned to look outside and saw Dong Tianxin, Dong Ping, and Dong Exen. Were they waiting for these 3 people? No. Why did they come? When Dong Tianxin and the other 2 saw the inner demons and Lu Jijin, they were stunned. When they came back to their senses, they hurriedly bowed and said, Greetings, Your Majesty. Greetings, Your Majesty. Come in. The emperor sat up straight and looked at the 3. The 3 entered the hall, walked to the inner demons and Lu Jijin's side, and nodded to greet them. Lu Jijin smiled and nodded in response. But the inner demons had a look of disdain. They were already used to the demonic heart's attitude and did not say anything. Then, they looked up at the emperor with a trace of suspicion on their faces. The emperor let out a long breath and looked at the 6 of them. He said in a deep voice, This time I called you here because I have something very important to tell you. But remember, this must be kept a secret. So serious. It wasn't just Lu Jijin and the others. Even Princess Yuxian was surprised. Ji Sui added, You can't even tell your parents. They looked at each other. They were even more confused. What was it that made the emperor and his wife so serious? The emperor said, You should all know that there is a forbidden area in Imperial Capital Mountain that outsiders are forbidden to enter. They nodded. There were many forbidden areas in Imperial Capital Mountain, but most of them were open to everyone. There was only one place that no one but the emperor and his wife could enter. Not even Princess Yuxian was allowed to enter. Because of this, Princess Yuxian kept asking the emperor and his wife about it, but they never mentioned it. But now, her father was the one who brought it up. Princess Yuxian was excited. Actually, this place isn't as mysterious as you think. Because there is only one thing here, the emperor said. What is it? Princess Yuxian asked. Something that forbade everyone from entering must be something special. A key, the emperor said. A key? The group of people was extremely shocked. They didn't expect it to be just a key. Princess Yuxian asked impatiently, Father, what key is it? Why is it so important? A key to the Holy Land. A key to a new realm. The emperor said each word with a pause. His words were full of wonder and longing. The Holy Land? A new realm. As soon as these words were spoken, the eyes of the group of people below trembled, especially the inner demons and Lu Jijin. When they were communicating with Qin Feiyang mentioned a new realm. Now the emperor mentioned it again. Could there really be a new realm in the path of cultivation? The path of cultivation is like the mountains we see. There is always a higher mountain. So the sovereign realm isn't the end, the emperor said. The sovereign realm isn't the main point. The inner demons and the others murmured. They couldn't control their excitement. They thought that the sovereign realm was the end. The peak was to master the ultimate meaning of all the laws. But they didn't expect that there would be a new realm above the sovereign realm. This undoubtedly gave them a new goal to strive for. Father, what's the new realm? Princess Yuxian asked expectantly. Your mother and I haven't stepped into this realm, so we don't know the details. In the current divine kingdom, only your grandfather has successfully stepped into this new realm, the emperor said. Grandfather, Princess Yuxian murmured. Her eyes were full of admiration. The inner demon's heart trembled. He transmitted his voice to Lu Jijin. No wonder the divine kingdom's sovereign is so strong. He has stepped into a new realm. It's hard to imagine, Lu Jijin said. Both of them yearned for the new realm even more. Because as long as they successfully stepped into the new realm, they might have the ability to compete with the divine kingdom's sovereign. The emperor smiled, however, to step into the new realm. There must be a prerequisite. What prerequisite? Everyone was suspicious. The emperor said, Master the will of the heavenly Tao. Princess Yuxian asked, Haven't we already met this requirement? Yes. But to step into the new realm, you still need a great fortune. This key can bring you into the land of fortune. The universe secret realm. The emperor smiled. Universe secret realm? The group looked at each other. They had never heard of it. The universe secret realm doesn't belong to our divine kingdom. It also doesn't belong to the sky cloud realm. You can say that the universe secret realm doesn't belong to any world. It's an independent existence. Of course, I heard this from my father. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. However, there are countless opportunities and fortunes in the universe secret realm. For example, there are ultimate esoteric inheritances, legendary level sovereign godly weapons, and even supreme level sovereign godly weapons. As long as you have the ability, these things will become yours. As soon as these words came out, everyone's breathing became rapid. Chapter 45-64. She even has a Supreme Dominator weapon? Unbelievable. Princess Moon Fairy suddenly thought of something. She looked at Ji Sui and asked in shock, Mother, did you get that weapon from the universe secret territory? Heart Demon and the others were taken aback. They quickly turned to look at Princess Moon Fairy. What does she mean? Does she mean Ji Sui has a Supreme Dominator weapon? I've never heard of that. Ji Sui stared at Princess Moon Fairy, as if blaming her for being nosy, but she nodded, Yes, I got it from the secret territory. That's true. I used to wonder where you got that weapon. So it's from the universe secret territory. Princess Moon Fairy was enlightened. She wanted to go to the universe secret territory even more. Wait, Mother won't stop me from going, will she? She knew her mother too well. She saw her as a treasure and didn't want her to take any risks. But it didn't make sense. If her mother didn't want her to go, why did she call her here? Don't think too much. I really don't want you to go to the secret territory, but I can't help it. I can't stand your father's persuasion. Ji Sui shook her head helplessly. When Princess Yuxian heard this, she immediately looked at the emperor with gratitude. Stupid girl. The emperor shook his head and scolded. His face turned serious again. Although I'm going to send you to the secret territory, I have something to say first. The group stood respectfully. Even Princess Moon Fairy was quiet. She looked at the emperor seriously and listened carefully. The secret territory is extremely dangerous. If you're not careful, you'll lose your life. Don't mention the secret territory. Even if you enter the secret territory's space-time tunnel, a moment of carelessness is enough to destroy your soul. Back then, Suyi and I entered the secret territory because of my father's help. If not for Lord Father's help, I'm afraid we would have been reduced to ashes in the space-time tunnel. The emperor's face was heavy. Even now, he couldn't help but shudder when he recalled what happened back then. It's that dangerous? Princess Moon Fairy was stunned. Don't go if you're scared. The inner demons laughed. Who says I'm scared? Princess Moon Immortal glared at the inner demons. The inner demons chuckled. Go and look in the mirror. The word fear is clearly written on your face. The continuous mockery caused Princess Moon Fairy's eyes to widen in anger as she gnashed her teeth. Risks and rewards are equal. There's no such thing as a free lunch in this world. Moreover, this kind of place is more challenging. Big brother, don't you think so? The inner demons turned to Lu Jijin and snickered. Yes. Lu Jijin nodded. This news was too important. He had to find a chance to tell his little cousin. Looking at the fearless attitude of the inner demons in Lu Jijin, the emperor was very satisfied. Because to enter the secret realm, extraordinary courage was a necessary condition. If he was a coward, no matter how strong he was, it would be difficult for him to survive. Not to mention seeking fortune and opportunity under the foot of the Grim Reaper. He then looked at Dong Tianqian, Dong Xian and Dong Ping. Although the three of them had looks of yearning on their faces, there was also a trace of fear. Obviously, in terms of courage, the three of them were still lacking. The emperor's eyes flashed as he said, "I'll say one more thing. My mother died in the universe secret realm." Rumble. The moment these words left his mouth, it was like a clap of thunder that resounded in the minds of the three. The emperor's mother, wasn't she the wife of their divine kingdom's ruler? The ruler's wife actually died in the universe secret realm? Oh my god. Just how dangerous was this universe secret realm? Your Majesty, may I ask, at that time in the universe secret realm, was your mother with the Lord Ruler? Dong Ping bowed. That's right. The emperor nodded. Dong Ping's body froze. In other words, this ruler's wife died in front of the Lord Ruler. And when his wife was in trouble as husband and wife, how could the Lord Ruler not save her? Hence it was obvious. At that time in the universe secret realm, the Lord Ruler definitely risked his life to save his wife. The Lord Ruler's power was unfathomable. Even so, he didn't succeed in saving his wife. One could imagine how big of a crisis they faced at that time. Not mentioning other things, the Lord Ruler definitely couldn't solve it. Otherwise, his wife wouldn't have died in the universe secret realm. A crisis that even the Lord Ruler couldn't solve. It was hard to imagine how terrifying it was. The emperor scanned the group. So now if you're afraid, you can choose not to go. I won't blame you as long as you keep this secret. Afraid? Haha. You're underestimating me. There's nothing in this world that I'm afraid of. The inner demons laughed. Lu Jijin's lips curled into a smile. With the hope of stepping into a new realm, such a place, no matter how dangerous, was worth going. Princess Yuxian was hesitant, but seeing the fearless inner demons, she was encouraged. She looked up at the emperor. Father, I'm not afraid either. You child, why are you showing off for no reason? Ji Sui was furious. She didn't want Princess Yuxian to offend them. Yes. Don't show off. A rich young lady like you should just stay on Emperor's capital mountain and enjoy your life. The inner demons snickered. No one will think you're mute if you don't talk. Princess Yuxian glared at the inner demons. You dare look down on me? Just you wait, I'll surprise you sooner or later. The inner demons said. I'm afraid I'll have to bring a burden along. I won't be able to do anything. Wouldn't that disappoint His Majesty and Her Highness? Who did you say was a burden? Say it again. Princess Yuxian was furious, glaring at the inner demons. How could he do this? There were so many people here, couldn't he save her some face? Dong Tianqian and the others looked at each other, admiring the inner demon's courage. If the emperor and his wife weren't here, it wouldn't be a big deal. But now the emperor and his wife were sitting there, and he was talking about their daughter in front of them. How could they keep their dignity? Jisui glanced at the inner demons and said, You there, don't worry. We don't have high hopes for you. This was a mother fighting back to protect her daughter. Ugh. The inner demons was shocked and smiled. We young people are bickering. Old people shouldn't interrupt. Old people. Jisui's face froze and the veins on her forehead bulged. She raged. Didn't anyone tell you that you can't say the word old in front of a woman? The corner of the emperor's mouth twitched. Even he didn't dare say something like that. How dare this little bastard? He didn't know. Women were usually very wary of others calling them old. Well, I'm sorry. If you don't want to hear the truth, then pretend I didn't say anything. The inner demons looked apologetic. But this apology didn't calm Jisui's anger. It only made her angrier. No, she couldn't let her daughter marry this little bastard. Otherwise, she'd die from anger. Let's get back to business. The emperor coughed and gave the inner demons a look of admiration. The kid's courage was admirable. He said what he wanted to say but didn't dare. He looked at Dong Tianqian and the others. What about you? The three looked at each other and nodded. Dong Tianqian looked at the emperor and bowed. Since your majesty trusts us, we will do our best. Very good. You are indeed a genius of the central dynasty. By the way, perhaps you can find a way to break the blood oath in the universe secret territory. The emperor smiled, pleased. Hearing this, Dong Tianqian and the other two couldn't help but feel refreshed. They wanted nothing more than to break the blood oath in their bodies. Because the blood oath was too restrictive on them. With their strength, they could have been the main force against Qin Feiyang and the others. But because of the blood oath, they could only hide in their homes like tortoises. These days they were close to breaking down. The emperor waved his hand and smiled. Then go prepare and wait for my orders. Yes. The group of people replied respectfully. Suddenly, Lu Jiajin looked at the emperor and asked, Your Majesty, since there's such a good thing, why not send more people? The more people there are, the more opportunities there will be. There was something he didn't say out loud. Only with more people would Qin Feiyang and the others have a chance to sneak into the universe secret territory with them. Although you are right, there will be a lot of sacrifices. Plus, the existence of the universe secret territory is a secret of the divine kingdom. We can't let too many people know about it. This is Father's order. If I tell you now, I will be going against Father's order. The emperor said. Rules are dead, people are trouble. Right now, our central dynasty is in a moment of crisis. Your Majesty, the reason why you want us to enter the secret realm now is most definitely so that we can gain something from the secret realm so that we can come out and deal with Qin Feiyang and the others. So I think we can send more people in. If you are only worried about the universe secret territory being leaked, it is easy to solve. Let those who know make a blood oath. Then who would dare to spread it? Lu Jiajin said. Hearing this, the emperor's eyes were full of praise. This young man was indeed smart. He could even see through the reason why they were allowed to enter the universe secret territory. Of course, this is just a suggestion. Whether you want to do this or not is up to you. Lu Jiajin smiled. The emperor pondered for a while and smiled. I will think about it seriously. You can leave now. Yes. The group bowed and left. Including Princess Moon Immortal. Men. Announced that Lu Yunfeng is the army commander of the Death God Army. Lu Yuntian is the vice army commander of the Death God Army. From now on, he will be in charge of everything in the Death God Army. Just as the inner demons and the others left the Emperor Palace, a loud voice resounded in the Emperor Palace and reverberated in the sky above the Emperor Capital Mountain. Chapter 45-65. As soon as the Emperor's voice came out, the inner demons and the others stopped and turned to look at the Imperial Palace not far away. They looked a little stunned, including the inner demons and Lu Jiajin. Previously in the Imperial Palace, the Emperor and his wife did not mention a word about this. They thought that there might be some changes. But unexpectedly, as soon as they walked out of the Imperial Palace, the Emperor announced the appointment. Was this a surprise for them? It might not be a surprise. Lu Jiajin said telepathically. What do you mean? The inner demons was suspicious. The Emperor might be worried that we are not interested in the position of commander and deputy commander, so he directly announced the appointment. This way we have no chance to refuse. Lu Jiajin smiled secretly. Who said we are not interested? How can we refuse? That's exactly what I want. The inner demons said secretly. But they don't know that we want to be the commander of the Death God Army. Moreover, if not to deal with the Central Dynasty and control the Death God Army, are you really interested in being the commander? Lu Jiajin asked secretly. The inner demons was stunned. After thinking carefully, if not to control the Death God Army, let alone being the commander, even if the entire Death God Army was directly given to him, he would not have much interest. In fact, whether it was the inner demons or Lu Jiajin, they were not very interested in power. Because in their eyes, all of this was just a passing cloud. It was better to be with their family and live a normal life. Congratulations, Brother Lu. Congratulations, Brother Lu. From now on, The two of you will be second only to one and above thousands. I hope that the two of you will take care of me in the future. Dong Tianchen and the others also came back to their senses after a while. They immediately looked at the inner demons and cupped their hands and smiled. They were also deeply surprised by this sudden appointment. Although there were rumors everywhere that the two of them were very likely to succeed the commander and deputy commander of the Death God Army, as a direct descendant of the family, they were quite clear about the emperor's nature. Although the two of them were very outstanding, they probably did not have a good chance to succeed the commander and deputy commander. Previously in the imperial palace, the emperor and his wife did not mention this matter. They were even more certain that there might be other candidates for the commander and deputy commander. However, he did not expect that the order would be issued in the blink of an eye. He didn't even give Lu Yunfeng and Lu Yunfeng a chance to refuse. They couldn't help but wonder if they didn't know enough about the emperor. Actually, they already had a thorough understanding of the emperor, because the emperor was indeed very hesitant at first. If it wasn't for Ji Sui's guidance, things might have changed. Don't flatter us, we are selfless. Also, I don't want to be the vice corps commander at all. The inner demons waved their hands disdainfully. The corners of Dong Tianchen's and the other two's mouths twitched. The more Princess Yuxian looked at him, the angrier she became. She said angrily, "Since you're so disdainful, it's not too late to go find Imperial Father. The order has already been issued. What's the point of me looking for him? Don't you know that a gentleman never goes back on his word? If we were to run over to your father now and tell him that we're not doing it, what will happen to your father's face?" The eldest miss is indeed the eldest Mississippi. She actually doesn't understand such simple logic. The inner demons shook their heads. "You bastard!" Princess Moon Immortal was about to explode from anger. What kind of man was this? He was always at odds with a woman. How ungentlemanly. Just say it, don't curse. The inner demon's face darkened. So what if I curse you? Bastard, bastard. Princess Moon Immortal roared. Fine. A good man doesn't fight with a woman. The inner demons raised his head and proudly turned to leave. A good man? You're shameless. You're a bastard. Don't go. Stop right there. We haven't made things clear yet. Princess Moon Immortal chased after him. Dong Ping's expression turned odd as he watched the two bicker. He muttered, "Why do I feel like they're enemies?" Enemies? Dong Tianchen and Dong Xian looked at each other. They really did feel that way. Did Princess Moon Immortal like Lu Yuntian? If that was the case, how many men would be jealous of Lu Yuntian? If he left Imperial Capital Mountain, someone would come after him. Don't think too much. They're just messing around. Lu Jijin looked at the three of them and smiled. Brother Lu, we're all sensible people. Why are you being so polite? Even if Moon Immortal likes Lu Yuntian, we won't say anything. The only condition is that he treats Moon Immortal well. Dong Tianchen waved his hand. Dong Ping asked, Lu Yunfeng, do you think that we're interested in Moon Immortal too? For a moment Lu Jijin didn't know how to answer. If you really think so, even if you're the army commander of the Death God Army, I'll still scold you. Because according to our blood relationship, Big Brother and I are Moon Immortal's cousins. Dong Ping said. No, Lu Jijin quickly waved his hand and smiled. He really neglected the relationship between Dong Tianchen and Princess Moon Immortal. Among the top 10 families except for the Ji family, the other 9 families were either the emperor's blood brothers or cousins. This was the true blood relationship. So, not only Dong Tianchen and Dong Ping, Dong Xian was also Princess Moon Immortal's cousin. As for Dong Hanzong, his relationship with Princess Moon Immortal was worlds apart. It could be said that the collateral family members of the Central Dynasty basically had no blood relationship with the emperor. Alright. He's new and must be very busy. Let's not pester him. Dong Xian smiled faintly. That's true. Go do your thing. We'll go back first. The secret realm is so dangerous. We must be fully prepared. Dong Tianchen smiled. He was looking forward to it and nervous at the same time. After the three left, Lu Jijin raised his head and looked in the direction where the inner demons and Princess Moon Immortal left. A trace of worry crept into his eyes. Dong Tianchen and the others thought that he would be very happy that Princess Moon Immortal was interested in the inner demons. But in fact that was not the case. He was very worried now, because Princess Moon Immortal was the Emperor's daughter. In the future they would definitely become opponents. If the inner demons and Princess Moon Immortal were really entangled, there would definitely be a lot of trouble. A simple matter would become extremely complicated. At the entrance, Dong Tianqian and the other two flew over and looked at Dong Hanzong and Dong Qingyun below the stone tablet. A trace of mockery flashed in their eyes and they directly left. They did not have the slightest bit of sympathy for Dong Hanzong. As for Dong Qingyun, to be honest, they had never taken him seriously. The reason why they used to call him teacher was because Dong Qingyun was the army commander of the Death God army and a favorite of the emperor. They had to give him some face. But now he was reduced to a watchdog. They did not take him seriously at all. And all these years, Dong Hanzong and Dong Qingyun were in cahoots with each other. Those despicable deeds made them extremely disgusted. Little Chun, Little Xian, however, Dong Tianqian and the other two did not want to talk to them, but it did not mean that they would ignore them. Seeing Dong Tianqian and the other two leave without looking back and not even saying goodbye, Dong Qingyun frowned slightly and called out to them. Chapter 45-66. Dong Tianqian and the other two were slightly stunned. They hesitated for a while and finally stopped. Seeing this, Dong Qingyun immediately got up and walked behind the three of them. But Dong Hanzong did not move. Although Dong Tianqian and the other two were descendants of the lineal family, he looked down on them from the bottom of his heart. Because in his opinion, the three of them could have such status and achievements only because of their family background. Without their family background, the three of them were nothing. Of course, he did have the right to be arrogant. After all, he had mastered 5 realms alone. And Dong Tianqian and the others only mastered 1 realm. What's the matter? Dong Tianqian turned to look at Dong Qingyun and asked. Sigh. Dong Qingyun sighed. Dong Tianqian and the other two were puzzled. Why did he sigh for no reason? Dong Qingyun said. Now even you are starting to alienate your teacher? Hearing this, Dong Ping and Dong Xian frowned slightly. Was he trying to get close to them? But it made sense. Now the Death God army, the 10 lineal families, and even the Dragon God and Kunpeng were getting closer to the Lu brothers. Dong Qingyun could not find anyone to ask for help, and they were once Dong Qingyun's disciples. Although they were only disciples in name, there was still a master-disciple relationship between them. What? Because we are bound by the blood oath, we have been hiding at home and don't dare to go out. Dong Tianqian smiled faintly. Oh, I see. I thought that the old saying was true. When the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. Dong Qingyun smiled. However, the courteous words caused Dong Tianqian and the others to feel extremely unpleasant. When the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. What did he mean? You are the tree and we are the monkeys? Who do you think you are? Do you really think you are a big shot? But on the surface, the three of them did not say much. Dong Xian asked, Teacher, is there anything wrong? We are very busy. Busy with what? Dong Qingyun was suspicious. It's not convenient to disclose. Dong Xian shook her head. I can't even reveal it to my teacher? Dong Qingyun frowned. Yes. This is an order from His Majesty. Dong Xian nodded. In fact, the three of them were quite happy. If it had been in the past, Dong Qingyun and Dong Hanzong would definitely have entered a place like the secret realm. But this time, the emperor didn't even mention it. This meant that the emperor was truly disappointed in the two of them. To them, this trip to the secret territory was undoubtedly an opportunity for them to surpass Dong Hanzong. All these years, Dong Hanzong had been suppressing them. Whether it was in the limelight or in reputation, he had always overshadowed them. This made them very unhappy, because they were the descendants of the direct line of descent. A dignified descendant of the direct line of descent was actually inferior to a branch family member? This was such a shameful thing. Therefore, they had been working hard to surpass Dong Hanzong. But the existence of the universe domain made them feel deeply powerless. And the heavens do not disappoint those who work hard. Now the opportunity had finally arrived. Therefore, in this trip to the mystic realm, not only did he have to obtain the divine item that could change his fate, he also had to come back alive. In the blink of an eye. His Majesty's orders. When Dong Qingyun heard this, his face was filled with surprise and doubt. It was the same for Dong Hanzong, who was standing below the stone tablet. What was it that made the emperor issue a gag order? Tunshin. Dong Qingyun looked at Dong Tianqian and was about to speak again. But before he could say anything, Dong Tianqian waved his hand and said, I really can't say. Looking at Dong Tianqian's attitude, Dong Qingyun could not help but feel a burst of anger in his heart. After all, he had already fallen into such a sorry state. Moreover, he still had to ask the three of them for help. All right. If you can't say, I won't ask. But what's the matter with His Majesty's orders just now? Is he really going to let Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng succeed as the Death God Legion's commander and deputy commander? Dong Qingyuan asked. Didn't you hear it? Dong Tianqian said lightly. Teacher, don't tell me you think that you were hallucinating just now. The corners of Dong Ping's mouth pursed with a trace of a teasing smile. Moreover, he did not hide this teasing smile. Even so, Dong Qingyuan did not fall out with him. He said in a deep voice, Did Lu Yunfeng and Lu Yunfeng request His Majesty to do this? Dong Tianqian and the other two were stunned. What kind of nonsense was this? Who in the Central Dynasty had the guts to request the emperor? Dong Qingyuan said, I don't believe that His Majesty will really let two outsiders take over the Death God Legion. But that's the truth. When we were in the Imperial Palace, Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng did not mention this. It was only after we left the Imperial Palace that His Majesty suddenly announced it. We didn't know beforehand. Dong Tianqian said lightly. What? Dong Qingyuan's face turned pale. He murmured, Why? They are outsiders. No matter what, they can't hand over the Death God Legion to two outsiders. The Central Dynasty is full of experts and talents. Can't we find someone who can manage the Death God Legion? Why? Although I don't want to accept it, they are indeed very capable. As for the Central Dynasty, there are indeed many experts and talents, but I believe that no one dares to say that they are better than the two brothers. Dong Tianqian said. This was the truth. Although he also thought that he was extraordinary, he felt that he was still lacking when compared to the inner demons in Lu Jijin. Dong Qingyuan looked at Dong Tianqian in disbelief. Of course he knew Dong Tianqian. He had always been arrogant and conceited. And in the past, he did not like the inner demons in Lu Yunfeng very much. But he did not expect that he would say such words at this time. Did this mean that Dong Tianqian had approved of the two of them? Is there anything else? Dong Tianqian asked. Yes. Dong Qingyuan quickly nodded and looked at the three of them. Help me and Hanzong to plead for His Majesty. Tell him that we know that we are wrong. As expected, Dong Tianqian and the other two sneered secretly. You are all descendants of the direct line of the family and His Majesty's relatives. Your words will definitely be effective. Dong Qingyuan grabbed Dong Tianqian's hand with a pleading face. He really had enough of this kind of life. He used to be high and mighty, and no matter where he went, he was surrounded by people. But now, since he was punished to guard the gate of the imperial capital mountain, he did not know how many people rolled their eyes and laughed at him every day. His heart was being tortured at every moment. Every minute and every second was torture. We really can't do anything about this. Because previously in the Imperial Palace, we had already spoken up for you. However, not only did we not manage to convince His Majesty, we even infuriated him. If it weren't for us admitting our mistakes in time, I reckon that we would be guarding the door with you right now. Dong Tianqian said. Did he? Not at all. He said this because he did not want to be harassed by Dong Qingyuan in the future. His Majesty is so angry? Dong Qingyuan was stunned. Yes. Actually, His Majesty is not to be blamed. Teacher, have you ever thought that you are the one in the wrong? As far as I know, His Majesty has given you advice more than once. Sigh. You can take your time here. I believe that His Majesty will forgive you sooner or later. We still have something to do, so we won't stay. Goodbye. Dong Tianqian smiled faintly, then turned around and left with Dong Ping and Dong Xian without looking back. Dong Qingyuan was dumbfounded. He never thought that he would make the emperor so angry this time. He regretted it. Now it was too late for regrets. As for Dong Hanzong, he did not expect Dong Tianqian and the other two to help him at all. After all, he tried to murder them in the 4 great continents. Therefore, He did not ask for help from the three of them. As long as the three of them did not hit him when he was down, he would be grateful. Late at night, the Black Tortoise realm. What did you say? Is there really a new realm above the sovereign realm? In the cultivation room, Qin Feiyang looked at the inner demons and Lu Jijin in shock. Yes. The two of them nodded. What realm is it? Qin Feiyang came back to his senses and asked while breathing heavily. The emperor did not say. It seems that he is not very clear about it. Lu Jijin shook his head. This is incredible. No wonder the sovereign of the divine kingdom is so powerful. Qin Feiyang's face was full of shock. But at the same time he was full of desire. Who did not desire a new realm? Moreover, only by successfully stepping into the new realm could they really fight the sovereign of the divine kingdom. The inner demons said, so, you have to find a way to sneak in this trip to the secret realm? Us? Qin Feiyang frowned. If the emperor really wanted to open the secret realm, it would definitely be on the imperial capital mountain. It was easy in the past because there was no origin energy on the imperial capital mountain. With their means they could easily break into the imperial capital mountain. But now the entire imperial capital mountain was under the protection of the boundary. How could they sneak in? The inner demons hesitated and said, if you can successfully enter the secret realm, even if you lose the 400,000 origin energy in your hands, I think it will be worth it. Qin Feiyang was shocked when he heard this. Clearly, the inner demon wanted them to use the 430,000 origin energy to break through the barrier of the imperial capital mountain and force their way into the imperial capital mountain. However, these 400,000 plus strands of origin energy had been obtained with great difficulty. And now it was their biggest trump card against the central dynasty. If they lost the origin energy, they would be in the same predicament as when they first entered the central dynasty. I think the inner demons have a point. That's because, according to the emperor, there are even sovereign divine weapons in this secret realm. As for the ultimate esoteric inheritance, there is no need to even mention it. Lu Jijin said. Qin Feiyang kept taking deep breaths, trying hard to calm down the shock in his heart. Paragon-level Dominator divine weapon. They were invincible. Lu Jijin suddenly thought of something and said in a low voice, there is one more thing you must remember. This Ji Sui seems to have a sovereign weapon. No way! Qin Feiyang cried, his face full of disbelief. Back in the imperial palace, she and Princess Yuxian only mentioned it vaguely, but I think it is true. Lu Jijin said. Chapter 45-67. She's really good at hiding. Qin Feiyang raised an eyebrow. The inner demons and Lu Jijin had been in imperial capital mountain for so long, yet they didn't know Ji Sui had a supreme dominator weapon. Even Dong Qingyuan and the others didn't know. This woman could only be described as unfathomable. Fortunately, when you entered the central dynasty, we chose to stay hidden in Emperor Mountain. Otherwise, we wouldn't even know about Ji Sui's supreme dominator godly weapon, let alone the universe secret realms. Lu Jijin smiled. Qin Feiyang nodded. The central dynasty's waters were too deep. You thought you saw the whole picture, but it was only the tip of the iceberg. If Heart Demon and Lu Jijin hadn't been there to help, Ji Sui's dominator weapon alone would have been enough to kill them all. Do you have a good way to sneak into the universe secret territory without using any origin power? Qin Feiyang asked. I've tried, but it's unknown if it'll work. Lu Jijin said. What way? Qin Feiyang was curious. The emperor originally wanted us to enter the secret territory with Princess Moon Fairy, Dong Tianchen, Dong Ping, and Dong Xian. But before we left, I suggested to send more people. As long as there are enough people, you can blend into the crowd and enter the secret territory. But the emperor didn't give me a direct answer. He said he'd consider it. Lu Jijin said. I'm afraid there's not much hope. Before, only the emperor and the emperor of the divine kingdom knew about the secret territory. Even Princess Moon Fairy didn't know. It's easy to imagine how important it is to them. Qin Feiyang shook his head. I said the same thing. But there might be a chance now. Because it's different now. The central dynasty is facing a crisis. The emperor might make an exception. Lu Jijin said. Even if it's possible, we can't expect the emperor to make an exception. How about this? We'll hide in your space items, and you two will take us to Imperial Capital Mountain. Qin Feiyang asked. If the Emperor doesn't make an exception, it's meaningless even if you sneak into the Imperial Capital Mountain. Because when the time comes, there will only be a few people entering the secret realm. How can the Emperor not see you? Lu Jijin shook his head. This method was not very realistic. How about this? We've been hiding in your spatial divine items. We'll come out after you've entered the secret realm, Qin Feiyang said. This, Lu Jijin and the inner demons looked at each other. That won't work either. With the Emperor's cautious personality, he might ask us to leave behind the spatial divine item. After all, even when we left the Central Dynasty for the 4 great continents, the Emperor asked us to leave behind the space divine items, let alone a place as important as the secret realm, the inner demons said. That makes sense. The mystic realm is too important. When the time comes, he will definitely take precautions against it. Lu Jijin nodded. If the Emperor really asked them to hand over the space divine items, then wouldn't Qin Feiyang's whereabouts be exposed if he hid in the space divine items? Even if the Emperor didn't check the space divine items and didn't find Qin Feiyang and the others, as long as their space divine items were kept by the Emperor, then Qin Feiyang and the others wouldn't be able to come out of the space divine items. In other words, when the time comes, Qin Feiyang and the others would be trapped in the space divine items. Qin Feiyang frowned and said, according to what you said, there are only 2 ways for us to enter the secret realm. Either we wait for the Emperor to make an exception, or we force our way in when the secret realm opens. Yes, the inner demons nodded. Okay, if we really have to force our way in, then I'll try to consume as little origin energy as possible. Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly. Just like what the inner demons and Lu Jijin said, this secret realm must be entered. Because this was the key to defeating the Divine Kingdom's dominator and destroying the Central Dynasty. No need to say more. If they could get 1 or 2 Supreme Dominator divine weapons, the overall strength of the Devil's Land would soar by a lot. Okay then. You guys should also prepare. If there's news, I'll inform you immediately, Lu Jijin said. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded. Lu Jijin waved his hand, and the sound transmission godstone turned off. The inner demons looked up at Lu Jijin and said, I suddenly thought of a problem. Problem? Lu Jijin was stunned. Yes. When the time comes, if we really force our way into the Emperor's mountain, then the Emperor will definitely wonder who leaked the news of the secret realm to them. And the people who know about the secret realm, other than the Emperor and his wife, are only us, Princess Yuxian and Dong Tianqian. Princess Yuxian definitely won't leak the news. Dong Tianqian and the other 2 won't either. Then there's only us left. So when the time comes, the Emperor will definitely be suspicious of us. The inner demons said. Makes sense. Lu Jijin nodded. If it weren't for the inner demon's reminder, he wouldn't have thought of this point. So we still have to find a scapegoat. The inner demons bared his teeth with a smirk on his face. What do you mean? Lu Jijin looked at him suspiciously. Dong Hanzong Dong Qingong. The inner demons enunciated each word clearly. Lu Jijin pondered for a while and laughed. Alright, it's just these 2 unlucky people. There's no other way. Who asked Dong Hanzong and Dong Qingong to be dishonest? Since you guys aren't honest, then we won't be polite either. At the same time, Qin Feiyang, White-Eyed Wolf, Madman, Long Chan, Long Qin, Li Feng, Dong Qin, Demon Ancestor, and the others gathered in the tea garden. What did you say? Universe Secret Realm. And there's a chance to step into a new realm? After listening to Qin Feiyang's explanation, the group looked at each other with a doubtful expression. Dong Qin, have you heard of this secret realm? Madman turned to look at Dong Qin and asked. No. Dong Qin shook her head. Her face was filled with disbelief. It's useless for you to ask Dong Qin. Because even Princess Yuxian didn't know about this secret realm before. Qin Feiyang smiled. So mysterious. You're not joking with us, right? Today isn't April Fool's Day. Madman frowned. Even if you beat him to death, he wouldn't believe it. Who's joking with you? This is what the inner demons and Big Cousin told me personally. How can it be fake? Qin Feiyang shook his head helplessly. Then we have to sneak in. What else is there to say? Madman roared excitedly. If they don't go to such a place, They should be struck by lightning. Indeed. We have to go. Longchan nodded in agreement. Demon Ancestor and the others were also filled with yearning. Whether it was dangerous or not, it didn't matter. What was important was that the secret realm had a chance for them to step into a new realm. Even if they didn't obtain this fortune, being able to find a supreme sovereign divine weapon was worth the trip. I advise you all to calm down, Dongqin suddenly said. Everyone was stunned and looked at Dongqin. I know the Emperor's personality quite well. Since even he said that the secret realm is dangerous, it must not be an ordinary place. Maybe it's easy for us to enter but difficult to come back alive, Dongqin said. Madman laughed. If you're afraid, then don't go. When did I say I was afraid? I'm thinking for you all. Besides, I'm cultivating in the Black Tortoise world. As long as Qin Feiyang enters the secret realm, isn't it the same as me entering the secret realm? Dongqin was powerless. Then you can temporarily leave the Black Tortoise world. White-eyed Wolf bared his teeth. Shut up. You really think I'm a coward? Let me tell you, I desire strength more than you all. Because I want to protect my family and avenge my father. Dongqin snorted coldly. Her father died because of the Emperor Dong Qingyuan and Dong Hanzong. However, other than Dong Qingyuan, she was no match for the three of them. The Emperor's origin energy, the Emperor's sword, Dong Hanzong's Qin Kuan domain. These could kill her instantly. Therefore, she still needed to continue becoming stronger. Now she suddenly knew that there was a place that could make her stronger and give her hope of avenging Theta Wang. How could she let it go so easily? What about you all? White-eyed Wolf looked at Ancestor Fiend and laughed. Do you still need to ask? Ancestor Fiend and the others rolled their eyes. How could they miss out on such an exciting place? In that case, we pass with a unanimous vote. White-eyed Wolf turned his gaze and looked at Dong Zhengyang. Little Dong, use your Eye of Destiny to see if we can successfully enter the secret realm. Can we obtain the opportunity to step into a new realm? Finally, see if we can all come back alive. Hearing this, everyone present looked at Dong Zhengyang. This was too crucial. If Dong Zhengyang said no, then they would really consider it carefully. However, if Dong Zhengyang said yes, then there was nothing to be afraid of. This, let me see. Dong Zhengyang couldn't resist everyone's expectations and smiled. He opened his Eye of Destiny. An obscure and mysterious aura immediately spread out in all directions with Dong Zhengyang as the center. It was as if the entire area had become his territory. Qin Feiyang and the others didn't dare to speak. They were afraid that they would disturb Dong Zhengyang. As for Dong Qin, she was very envious of Qin Feiyang and the others. Dong Zhengyang's Eye of Destiny allowed him to foresee the future. Mu Qing's all-seeing eye could investigate the whereabouts of others. Mermaid Princess's Eye of Life could bring the dead back to life. Although the three strongest fighting souls were support-type fighting souls, when they were added together, they could make Qin Feiyang and his group invulnerable. Time passed by slowly. About a few hundred breaths. Puff! Suddenly Dong Zhengyang spat out a mouthful of blood. His face turned as pale as a sheet of paper. His entire body was shaking. If Qin Feiyang hadn't hurried forward to support Dong Zhengyang, he would have fallen down on the spot. What happened? He spat out blood? This is not a good sign. White-eyed Wolf and the others looked at each other. Their faces were grave. After a long while, Dong Zhengyang finally recovered. He gently pushed Qin Feiyang away and sat on the stone bench. He rubbed his forehead with both hands. What Qin Feiyang and the others didn't know was that at that moment, Dong Zhengyang's head felt like it was going to split open. If it weren't for his strong willpower, he would have fainted on the spot. Chapter 3 Release at 10 a.m. Chapter 45-68. Come, have some tea to calm your nerves. The white-eyed wolf quickly picked up the teacup and handed it to Dong Zhengyang. Dong Zhengyang looked at the white-eyed wolf and smiled bitterly. Don't be like this. I'm not used to it. Even his voice sounded weak and powerless. Are you all right? The lunatic asked with concern. No problem. Dong Zhengyang waved his hand and took the teacup from the white-eyed wolf. He took a sip and looked up at Qin Feiyang and the rest. The group of people didn't say anything and just stared straight at him. The secret realm is not simple. Dong Zhengyang shook his head and sighed. Huh. The group was stunned. After waiting for so long, this was what they got? How is it not simple? Qin Feiyang asked. The Eye of Destiny can't see into the secret realm. Dong Zhongyang said. How is that possible? As soon as he said this, Qin Feiyang and the rest were stunned. One had to know. Dong Zhongyang's Eye of Destiny had always been able to unleash a heaven-defying power. But now, it couldn't see into the secret realm. Not only can't I see into it, but a mysterious aura has descended. I was severely injured by this aura just now. Also, I can clearly feel that this seems to be a warning. Dong Zhongyang said. Aura. Why didn't we feel it? The group was surprised. I should be the only one who can feel it. Dong Zhongyang said. Everyone looked at each other. What exactly was this universe secret realm? Why did it sound so mysterious? Long Chen asked. In other words, we can't predict whether we'll be lucky or not, or whether we'll be able to step into a new realm? Yes. Dong Zhongyang nodded. Life and death were boundless. Long Chen pondered for a while and looked up at Qin Feiyang and the rest. He smiled and said, It seems that we can only rely on ourselves. The white-eyed wolf was silent for a long time and suddenly grinned. Isn't this more exciting? If we know the outcome beforehand, what's the point? Careless. Dong Qin shook her head. However, she was a little envious of the white-eyed wolf's unscrupulous mentality. If it were her, she wouldn't be able to do it. Since we can't predict the outcome, let's focus on it. Because this is the turning point of our destiny. Qin Feiyang's eyes. He believed that as long as everyone was united, there was no obstacle that could not be overcome. Yes, as long as we can step. A roar was heard. Qin Feiyang and the others looked at the sea lion beast king and couldn't help but shake their heads and laugh. Boss Qin. Sea Lion's eyes turned and looked at Qin Feiyang. Since you're going to the universe secret domain, your life and death are unknown. Then I think you should leave something behind? Ah, Qin Feiyang froze. What did he mean? The Sea Lion Demon King chuckled and took out a jar of wine. Qin Feiyang sized up the wine jar. Why did it look so familiar? Frenzy and the white-eyed wolf were also thinking hard, because the two of them also felt that it was familiar. The demon ancestor and the others looked at the Sea Lion Demon King curiously. Why did he suddenly take out a jar of wine? You don't remember? Didn't I show it to you last time? And I also said that only you can drink this wine. Sea Lion reminded. Yes. The white-eyed wolf and Frenzy immediately recalled. That time, they were still fighting to drink it, but Sea Lion didn't agree. Because of this, they were still a bit unhappy with Sea Lion. Qin Feiyang took the jar and asked suspiciously, What kind of wine is this? Good wine. Try it. The Sea Lion Demon King laughed mischievously. Good wine. Qin Feiyang sized up the Sea Lion Demon King and frowned. Why do I feel like you're up to no good? What are you talking about? If I didn't have good intentions, I would have stabbed you in the back. Don't be ungrateful. In order to get this jar of wine, I spent all of my belongings. If you don't drink it, then you're letting down my good intentions. Sea Lion said angrily. All of your belongings? Is it that exaggerated? Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. After hesitating for a while, he put the jar on the table and nodded. Okay, I'll try it. That's more like it. The Sea Lion Demon King immediately beamed with joy and opened the wine jar himself. A strong medicinal fragrance suddenly surged out. That's right. It was the medicinal fragrance. The medicinal fragrance and the wine fragrance mixed together. For people who didn't drink, it was very strange. But for people who liked to drink, for example, White-Eyed Wolf, Frenzy, Mu Qing, and Li Feng couldn't help but stand on their tiptoes and look at the wine in the jar curiously, swallowing their saliva. Don't look, it's not for you. Sea Lion pushed them away and quickly took out a porcelain bowl. This. Qin Feiyang looked at the porcelain bowl in astonishment. This porcelain bowl was the size of an adult's fist. He just wanted to taste it. Why did he take out such a big bowl? Drink more, the effect will be better. Sea Lion held the wine jar and poured a whole bowl. The wine was crystal clear with a little bit of light. If one didn't smell the wine and medicinal fragrance, it would look like nectar, making people salivate. White-Eyed Wolf and the others kept swallowing their saliva at this moment. Drink. Sea Lion Demon King picked up a bowl of wine and handed it to Qin Feiyang. Seeing that Qin Feiyang was still a little hesitant, he said, "Don't worry, everyone is here. If I really plotted to kill you, wouldn't they cripple me?" "That's true." Qin Feiyang nodded, took the wine bowl, put it at the tip of his nose and smelled it. His brows immediately furrowed. This smell was really pungent. Sea Lion Demon King said angrily, "You're a man, why are you being so wishy-washy? Drink it in one gulp." The corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. He raised his head and drank it in one gulp. "Don't say it." When the wine entered the body, there was no burning sensation. On the contrary, it made people feel comfortable. "It's not poisonous, right?" "Another bowl." Sea Lion Demon King poured another bowl. "More?" Qin Feiyang frowned. Sea Lion Demon King smiled and said, "This wine needs 3 bowls to be effective." Qin Feiyang's face darkened as he drank another bowl. "You can't use divine power to refine it, or it will lose its medicinal effect." The Sea Lion Demon King instructed as he poured another bowl of soup. This time, as soon as Qin Feiyang picked up the wine bowl, a strange feeling suddenly emerged in his heart. Seemed like there was a cluster of flames burning in his body. The pores all over his body couldn't help but stretch out. As the third bowl of wine entered his stomach, the flames in his body instantly erupted, and a dry heat swept through his body. Qin Feiyang's face instantly turned red. "He can't be drunk just like that, right?" White-Eyed Wolf was stunned. "No. He doesn't look like he's drunk." Madman shook his head. Because Qin Feiyang's eyes were still very clear. There was no consciousness nor confusion. What's going on? Regarding this situation, Qin Feiyang himself was also full of doubts. But gradually, he seemed to realize something, looked up at Sea Lion Demon King, frowned and said, "Don't joke with me." "Joke? Who's joking with you?" "I'm trying to help you." Sea Lion Demon King was speechless. "Help me?" Qin Feiyang's face darkened. As the fire in his body became more and more vigorous, he finally dared to confirm what wine Sea Lion Demon King gave him. "You're a bastard." He cursed angrily and hurriedly sat cross-legged on the ground to refine the medicinal effect in his body. "Why are you still cursing? I've helped you so much, shouldn't you thank me? Also, it's useless to refine it now because the medicinal effect has already integrated into your body." Sea Lion Demon King said, "I've never seen such a fucking bastard like you." Qin Feiyang's face was full of anger as he tried to restrain himself. "I really don't understand. You have a wife, why are you still restraining yourself?" Sea Lion Demon King was speechless. Listening to the conversation between the two, White-Eyed Wolf and the others were all suspicious. Why did it sound so strange? Finally, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but get up and shouted without looking back, "You guys prepare well and don't drink that wine." Then, like a rabbit, he got into his house and closed the door with a bang. "What's going on?" White-Eyed Wolf and the others looked at each other. Madman stepped forward, picked up the wine jar, and sniffed it curiously, wanting to taste it. Don't. Sea Lion Demon King quickly snatched the wine jar and sealed it. "What kind of wine is this? If you keep me in suspense, I won't be polite to you." White-Eyed Wolf's face darkened. He was really fed up with this guy's suspense. Sea Lion Demon King glanced at White-Eyed Wolf, then looked at Madman and the others and asked, "Do you really want to know?" "Yes." Everyone nodded. Even Dong Qin and Long Qin were like curious babies. This wine is called Perfect Nourishment Wine. It's specially used to treat all kidney deficiencies. In short, this is a wine to strengthen yang. Sea Lion Demon King said. The group of people were petrified on the spot. After all this time, it turned out to be this thing. No wonder Qin Feiyang left behind a sentence and ran back home without even looking back. He was in a hurry to put out the fire. They also finally understood what Sea Lion Demon King said before, that he wanted Qin Feiyang to leave something behind. This was to let Qin Feiyang leave behind an heir. If he accidentally died in the secret realm, he wouldn't be without a successor. Boring. Long Qin and Dong Qin came back to their senses, and their cheeks couldn't help but blush. They glared at Sea Lion Demon King and turned around to leave quickly. "We're all adults, what's there to be shy about?" The Sea Lion Demon King laughed mischievously. "Scammer, definitely a scammer." Long Chan shook his head. looked at Sea Lion Demon King suspiciously, and asked, I wonder, why would you think of giving Qin Feiyong this wine? Didn't Boss Wolf and Madman say last time that Boss Qin can't do this? So I specifically went to find this perfect nourishment wine. I'm telling you, this is really useful. Sea Lion Demon King patted the wine jar and said seriously, You guys said that? Long Chan and the others looked at White-Eyed Wolf and Madman in shock. Did we? White-Eyed Wolf and Madman looked at each other. Suddenly, they patted their heads and recalled that when they just left Kuanping Sea region and on the way to Green Wind City, they joked with Sea Lion Demon King. But they didn't expect that this scammer would actually take it seriously. As soon as they arrived at Green Wind City, they went to find this perfect nourishment wine. It really made them speechless. Chapter 45-69. Now, do you still want to drink? The Sea Lion Demon King looked at the group of people sneakily. Goodbye. Long Chan cupped his hands and said before turning around and leaving. Li Feng, Demon Ancestor, Dong Zhengyang, Mu Tianyang, and Mu Qing also turned around and left. What a joke. They didn't even have a woman they liked now. The White-Eyed Wolf and Frenzy looked at the wine jar, extremely conflicted. They really wanted to have a taste, but they were afraid that there would be nowhere to put out the fire. The Sea Lion Demon King bared his teeth and said, Actually, you can try. Forget it. The two put down the wine jar and decisively turned around to leave. It seems that their relationship with Fire Dance and Zhuo Shaoxian is quite pure. The Sea Lion Demon King chuckled, looking extremely wretched. About half an hour passed. Qin Feiyong finally walked out of the attic, feeling a little exhausted. Boss Qin, you're amazing. More than an hour. It seems that this wine is really useful. The Sea Lion Demon King suddenly appeared from the side and looked at Qin Feiyong with a chuckle. Get lost. Qin Feiyong's face was dark. Was there a need to doubt his strength in this aspect? He had always been very confident. The Sea Lion Demon King said aggrievedly, Boss Qin, I helped you solve such a big problem. Aren't you going to thank me? I say, are you playing dumb with me? I don't know. Senior Brother Frenzy and the White-Eyed Wolf are just joking? Qin Feiyong was helpless. Huh. The Sea Lion Demon King was stunned. Joke? You believe everything I say. If I tell you to die, why don't you die? Fortunately, there are no outsiders today. Otherwise, I would have become a joke. Qin Feiyong was speechless. The Sea Lion Demon King smiled embarrassedly and said fawningly, Isn't that also quite useful? More than an hour, definitely longer than you used to. You're still talking about it? Qin Feiyong's veins popped. Okay, I won't say it. The Sea Lion Demon King nodded repeatedly. Qin Feiyong let out a deep sigh. What kind of people did he meet? Wait a minute. Suddenly, Qin Feiyong frowned and turned to look at the Sea Lion Demon King. What is it? The Sea Lion was bewildered. Why are you here? Don't tell me you're spying on me? Qin Feiyong said with a dark face. How is this possible? No matter how despicable I am, I would never do such a thing. The Sea Lion Demon King quickly shook his head and took out another jar of wine. He stuffed it into Qin Feiyong's hands and said, Even if there's no problem, you can still use it to replenish your strength. With that, he turned around and disappeared without a trace. Qin Feiyong looked at the wine jar in his hand, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. This time he had really been tricked too badly. True enough. When interacting with these fellows, one had to be careful at all times. Otherwise, one could easily fall into a trap. Next, Qin Feiyong and the others cultivated and prepared while waiting for news from Lu Jijin and the inner demons. In the blink of an eye, half a month passed. Half a month outside was 75,000 years in the Black Tortoise realm. In 75,000 years, mortals had reincarnated countless times. For example, the Great Qin. Back then, it had only been 10,000 years. But for people in the sovereign realm like Qin Feiyong, it was just a blink of an eye. It was also on this day. The emperor couple finally made a decision to only let Lu Jijin and the other 5 enter the secret realm. Because this matter was too important. Now they had made the decision to let Lu Jijin and the other 5 enter the secret realm, which was already a violation of the orders of the Divine Kingdom's sovereign. If more people knew about the secret realm, when the Divine Kingdom's sovereign returned, he would definitely blame them. And they decided to enter the secret realm in 3 days. 3 days later? So soon. Lu Jijin and the inner demons received the message and couldn't help but frown. The emperor couple didn't agree to their suggestion, which already gave them a headache, and now they were in such a hurry. Time was too short, and they couldn't think of any other way, so they could only force their way in. It seemed that they had to tell Qin Feiyang and the others to be prepared. Wait, why don't we think of a way to publicize this matter? The inner demon said telepathically. Publicize? Lu Jijin was stunned. Yes, as long as the secret realm is made public, it will definitely cause a huge storm in the central dynasty. At that time, I and the others can take advantage of the chaos to enter the secret realm. The inner demon's eyes lit up. No. Lu Jijin shook his head. Why? The inner demons looked at him, puzzled. This matter can't be publicized. Think about it. If we publicize it, many people will enter the secret realm. Although they belong to different families, they are all from the central dynasty. Once they obtain the opportunity, it is equivalent to increasing the central dynasty's combat power. In other words, this will be disadvantageous to us. Lu Jijin explained. That's true. The inner demons nodded. If the central dynasty was a plate of loose sand, it would be fine. Because if it was a plate of loose sand, they would only care about their own interests. But the problem now was that the central dynasty was a whole, an iron plate. If anyone obtained the opportunity in the secret realm, it would strengthen the central dynasty's overall strength. But now it is different. Now only the Moon Fairy Princess, Dong Tianqian, and us will enter. Of course we don't have to. Dong Tianqian and the other two are bound by the blood oath. Given the means of my younger cousin and the others, they will become our people sooner or later. In other words, the Moon Fairy Princess is the only outsider. So we will be the ones who will benefit the most from entering the secret realm this time. Lu Jijin smiled. Also, there was a saying that there were too many monks and too little gruel. Once the number of people entering the mystic realm increases, our chances of obtaining the good fortune will naturally decrease as well. After all, no matter how many treasures there is a limit. The inner demons pondered for a while and shook his head. I don't think so. Lu Jijin was stunned and smiled. Then tell me what you think. Although more people enter the secret realm and our chances of obtaining the opportunity will decrease, at the same time, it will weaken the central dynasty's strength. Because the emperor said that the secret realm is very dangerous. Back then, even the wife of the ruler of the divine kingdom died in the secret realm, not to mention these people. When the time comes, I estimate that not many people can come back alive. The inner demon shook his head. What you said makes sense. But you neglected one point. It is very likely that they will split their divine souls in advance to save their lives before entering the secret realm. Lu Jijin said. The inner demons raised his eyebrows. If that was the case, it would be meaningless to kill these people in the secret realm. Wait, don't you think it is strange? If they can split their divine souls in advance, why did the wife of the ruler die in the secret realm? They can't be so stupid. Even you and I can think of this, how can they not? The inner demons frowned. That's right. Lu Jijin patted his head, and a trace of suspicion crept onto his face. The secret realm was so dangerous. It stood to reason that the couple of the ruler of the divine kingdom should have split their divine souls in advance before entering. Could it be that it was their first time entering the secret realm back then? They didn't know how dangerous the secret realm was at all? Moreover, as the ruler of a world, the ruler of the divine kingdom must be very proud and conceited. He thought that nothing in the world could threaten him, so he didn't split his divine soul in advance to save his life? It's really hard to figure out. We still know too little about the secret realm. How about this, let's go ask the emperor again. The inner demons suggested. Okay. Lu Jijin nodded. For such a place they must be cautious. Immediately, the two got up and flew toward the imperial palace. Coincidentally, they met 3 familiar people on the way. These 3 people were Dong Tianqian, Dong Ping, and Dong Xian. Where are you going? Above the mountains, Dong Tianqian and the other 2 stopped and looked at the inner demons with a surprised expression. The imperial palace. Lu Jijin smiled and said, Are you going to the imperial palace too? It's true. Dong Tianchen smiled and asked, "Why are you going to the imperial palace?" "To ask about the details of the secret realm." Lu Jijin didn't hide anything. Dong Tianchen and the other two were stunned. "What? Is this also your purpose of going to the imperial palace?" the inner demons said. Yes. Dong Tianchen and the other two nodded. They didn't expect that the people they disliked the most would think of the same thing. "Then let's go together." Lu Jijin smiled faintly, his demeanor elegant and refined. Dong Exine looked at Lu Jijin, and there seemed to be a moment of infatuation in her eyes. "Dong Exine, why are you in a daze?" Dong Ping looked at Dong Exine and asked suspiciously. "Huh?" Dong Exine came back to her senses and hurriedly waved her hand and said no. Her cheeks were faintly hot. She didn't dare to look into Lu Jijin's eyes. "It's over. Why would I be attracted to him? He's just a lowly person with a different surname. But he's really charming. Why didn't I notice it before?" Dong Exine murmured, and her heart was beating wildly. The group walked toward the imperial palace, talking and laughing. It was as if all the previous grudges had vanished into thin air. Only Dong Exine, who didn't say a word, glanced at Lu Jijin from time to time. Dong Exine was also a very beautiful woman. Her long hair fluttered in the wind, her figure was tall and slender. Her skin was like white jade, sparkling and translucent. Her facial features were extremely exquisite, especially her bright and beautiful big eyes, which were as pure as gemstones. After a while, they came to the gate of the imperial palace. At the gate, two guards stood with spears, and their eyes were as sharp as an eagle's. "Both of you, please inform the emperor." Lu Jijin cupped his hands and smiled. "No need. His Majesty said that as long as you come, you can go in directly." The two guards were very polite. What a joke. One was the commander of the Death God Army. The other was the deputy commander of the Death God Army. The other three were the descendants of the direct line of the family, and they all controlled powerful domains. Even if they were the emperor's guards, they didn't dare to be presumptuous. Lu Jijin was stunned. He didn't expect that they would have this privilege now. He was really flattered. He cupped his hands and smiled, "Thank you." After that, the group of 6 pushed open the gate of the imperial palace and walked in one after another. Chapter 45-70. Entering the main hall, they saw the emperor sitting in the side hall. There was an exquisite tea set on the tea table in front of him. The teapot was boiling, and the aroma of tea filled the hall. "Come and sit." The emperor was holding an old book in his hand. He lowered his head and read it seriously. The 5 of them looked at each other and walked over. "You're quite refined." Dong Tianchen and the other 2 were still hesitating, but the inner demon sat opposite the emperor and poured tea for him. The emperor was not surprised. Dong Tianchen and the other 2 shook their heads helplessly. In front of the emperor, except for Lu Yuntian, no one dared to be so presumptuous. Reading can increase knowledge and experience. However, this book is not an ordinary book. The emperor put down the ancient book in his hand and looked up at the inner demons with a smile. Not an ordinary book. The inner demons was slightly stunned. He quickly put down the teapot and asked curiously, "Let me take a look. Can you read?" The emperor joked. The inner demon's face suddenly darkened. "Who are you looking down on? Take it and read it. Anyway, I was going to give it to you." The emperor closed the ancient book and gently placed it on the tea table. The 5 of the inner demons looked down and were immediately energized. Because on the cover of the ancient book, there were 3 big words written. Universe Secret Territory. Lu Jijin asked, "Is this about the Universe Secret Territory?" "Smart." The emperor smiled slightly. When the inner demons heard this, they immediately grabbed the ancient book and looked down. Dong Tianchen and the other 2 quickly went up. Wasn't the situation of the secret territory what they wanted to know now? "Be gentle. This is the only book, don't tear it up." The emperor looked at them worriedly. I know. The inner demons waved his hand impatiently. When they opened the first page of the ancient book, there was a tall stone door. The stone door stood in the vast galaxy. It was more than 10,000 feet tall, like a towering mountain, filled with an ancient and mysterious aura. On the stone door there were carvings. There was the sun, moon, and stars. There were mountains and rivers. There were also birds and beasts. There were also countless races. For example, the human race, the beast race, the sea race, the god race, etc. Although it was just a drawing of a stone door, it gave off an extremely shocking feeling, as if it was a heavenly door that led to the peak of the world and the end of the universe. At the bottom of the stone door, there were 4 bold words. The door to the secret realm. This is the entrance to the secret realm? Dongping asked curiously. That's right. The monarch nodded and explained. The door to the secret realm can only be opened by the key from the forbidden area. Furthermore, the key is also needed to summon the door to the secret realm. You mean this is the only key in the world that can make the door to the secret realm reappear in the world? The inner demons asked. That's right. The emperor nodded. The inner demons asked curiously, last time, I heard you say that the secret realm gate doesn't belong to any world. Where is it? I don't know. Even my father was unable to see the location of the secret realm. The emperor shook his head. How mysterious. The inner demons murmured. He flipped to the second page. As expected, it recorded that the sovereign of the divine kingdom had investigated the origins of the secret realms. According to the records, the sovereign of the divine kingdom had traveled everywhere and tried everything to investigate the origin of the secret realms. However, in the end there was no result. Everything could be attributed to one word. Mysterious. Gradually, the inner demons finished reading the second page and flipped to the third. The content of the third page was the space-time tunnel to enter the secret realm. According to the records, this space-time tunnel was boundless. Once a person entered, it was easy to lose their way, because there was only one exit. If one lost their way, it was very likely that they would be trapped in the tunnel forever. Furthermore, there was no essence in the space-time tunnel. It was impossible to cultivate. Most importantly, there were countless illusions in the tunnel that could catch you off guard at any time. These illusions would appear without any warning. You thought that you had left the tunnel, but in the end you would find that you were still in the tunnel, making it impossible to guard against. Furthermore, you would not be facing just one illusion. Could be 2, or it could be 3, or it could even be 4. It was equivalent to, you would be enveloped by 4 illusions at the same time. When the time came, you worked hard to break through the first illusion and thought that you were out of danger, but in fact you were still in the illusion. This was the terror of the space-time tunnel. Furthermore, there was a particularly eye-catching record. Once you died in the illusion, you would also be destroyed in the real world. Damn, this terrifying space-time tunnel is enough to scare away countless people. The inner demons exclaimed. It was really thanks to this ancient book. Otherwise, they would definitely suffer a great loss when they were unprepared. They might even lose their lives. In the tunnel, in addition to these illusions, there would also be a space-time storm. This space-time storm could easily wipe out a powerhouse with the will of the heavens. Finally, at the exit of the tunnel, it was recorded that there was a terrifying giant beast. This giant beast was unimaginably powerful. Powerhouses with the will of the heavens would become its food. However, this giant beast was usually in a deep sleep. As long as one did not wake up and carefully pass by it, one would not be in a life-threatening situation. However, if one woke it up, it would be a devastating disaster. It was clearly recorded in the book. That year, when the emperor couple entered the space-time tunnel, they accidentally woke up the giant beast. If it were not for the divine kingdom's master using the origin power to escort them, they would definitely die under the giant beast's fangs. This meant that just this space-time tunnel alone had 3 fatal dangers. The first was the illusion. The second was the space-time storm. The third was the giant beast guarding the exit of the tunnel. Only by passing these 3 fatal dangers could one officially enter the secret realm. It's really unbelievable. Even the space-time tunnel to enter the secret realm is full of dangers, let alone inside the secret realm. I suddenly feel that I'm starting to lose confidence. Dong Tianchen smiled bitterly. Even if he had the invincible body of the god-slaying domain, he could not help but feel guilty at this moment. This is exciting. The inner demons laughed. There was no fear at all, making Dong Tianchen and the other 2 extremely speechless. How could this guy be so daring? In this world, there was nothing he was afraid of? That's why I asked you to be fully prepared. Because I have been to the secret realm and know how terrifying it is. This time going to the secret realm you will definitely be in danger. The emperor shook his head. What's there to be afraid of? I only know one sentence. Man's will triumphs over nature. The inner demon smiled proudly. The emperor was stunned for a moment and couldn't help but laugh. What a good sentence, man's will triumphs over nature. With this sentence of yours, I firmly believe that you will definitely come back alive. The inner demon bared his teeth and said, if I come back alive, will you give me 100 to 200,000 origin force? The emperor was stunned. 100 to 200,000 origin force? He really dared to ask. No, you have to motivate our fighting spirit. If there is no reward, how can we still have the passion to fight? The inner demons laughed. The emperor's mouth twitched. Letting you enter the secret realm is already the greatest gift, and you still want a reward? 10 to 20,000 origin force will do. The inner demons grinned. The emperor shook his head helplessly and said, okay, as long as you come back alive, I will give each of you 10,000 origin force. If one of you can obtain the profound truth of the strongest law, what's wrong with giving you 100,000 origin force? Domineering. As the emperor of the central dynasty, you should have such boldness. This is what you said yourself, don't go back on your words. The inner demons laughed sinisterly. Not only would they have the opportunity to obtain the fortune of the secret realm, but they could also obtain origin force. This was the best of both worlds. Brother Lu, let's put the reward aside first. Now let's think about how to survive. Dong Tianchen smiled helplessly. What a thick-skinned person. In a situation where life and death were uncertain, he was still thinking about rewards. Go away. Such a person with no fighting spirit, don't follow us in the future. I am afraid that you will implicate us brothers. The inner demon snorted coldly. Okay, I have spoken too much. Dong Tianchen's heart was quite bitter. Can't you tell that I am thinking about your safety? A dog biting Lu Dongbin's kindness. Lu Jiajin didn't look at the ancient book, and he tasted the tea with a smile on his face. The emperor drank the best divine tea, so if he had the chance, of course, he would have to taste it properly. Aren't you going to take a look? The emperor looked at him suspiciously. As long as they have seen it. Lu Jiajin glanced at the inner demons and smiled faintly. The emperor said, you are a good person, but there is one thing about you, which is that you are too casual. No matter how dangerous the situation is, you always give people a casual attitude. Just go with the flow. Lu Jiajin smiled faintly, pondered for a moment and said, however, I do have a few questions that I want to ask you face to face. What questions? The emperor was suspicious. Back then, your mother died in the secret realm of the universe. I was thinking, why didn't she split her divine soul and leave it in the central dynasty before entering the secret realm? Lu Jiajin said. As soon as this question was asked, the inner demons and Dong Tianchen immediately looked at the emperor. The emperor was silent. Lu Jiajin said apologetically, sorry for mentioning your sad past. It's fine. It has been so many years, I am more or less relieved. The emperor waved his hand, took a sip of tea and adjusted his mood, and said, actually back then, my mother did split her divine soul and left it in the central dynasty. She did? Then how did she die? The five of them were surprised. It's unbelievable, isn't it? At that time when we learned about this matter, we were also like this. Especially me, for a few years I couldn't accept this fact. I clearly remember that I was dealing with some matters at that time, but suddenly I heard my mother scream. I immediately rushed over to check and found that the divine soul left by my mother was dissipating. The emperor said. Dissipating? The five of them looked at each other. That's right. Dissipating. At that time I didn't know why. But later, when my father returned from the secret realm, I found out that my mother's divine soul dissipated when she died in the secret realm. After my father returned, he heard that my mother's divine soul had dissipated, and he couldn't believe it for a long time. In the end, after we calmed down, we sat together to study this problem and finally came to a conclusion. As long as one died in the secret realm, the divine soul left outside would also be destroyed. The emperor sighed. There's such a thing. Doesn't this mean that splitting one's divine soul to save one's life is meaningless? Dong Tianchen was shocked. Yes, it's meaningless. Later, when Suyi and I went to the secret realm, we didn't split our divine soul in advance and left it in the central dynasty to save our lives. The emperor said. Chapter 4571. It's too scary. Even the soul left outside can be erased. This is the universe secret realm. Dong Tianchen and the other two couldn't help but feel shocked. The deeper their understanding of the secret realm, the more afraid they were. Could they really go to such a place? They were now beginning to doubt. No. In order to break the blood oath, in order to surpass Dong Hanzong, they must go. This was a huge gamble. If they win, they will obtain supreme status, glory, and power. If they lose, they will be smashed into pieces. Lu Jijin was silent for a while, looked at the emperor and smiled. The second question, can we bring the space divine object in? Looking at the indifferent Lu Jijin, Dong Tianchen and the other two's hearts were filled with admiration. This was a person with the demeanor of a general. No matter what the situation was, he could maintain a calm and composed state of mind. Yes. The emperor nodded. Lu Jijin's eyes flashed. As long as he could bring the space divine object in, Qin Feiyang could also hide in his space divine object and enter the secret realm. However, now he was worried that the emperor would not allow them to bring the space divine object in. Or before leaving, he would check their space divine object. Don't be happy too early. Even if you bring the space divine object in, it's of no value. The emperor laughed. What do you mean? They were puzzled. The emperor said, because once you step into the secret realm, you can't open the space divine object. The five of them looked at each other. Can't open the space divine object? There was such a restriction? The emperor said, so the resources you prepared, such as pills, soul stones, god crystals and dominator weapons, can't be placed in the space divine object. Lu Jijin secretly smiled bitterly. He also said that he would let Qin Feiyang and the others hide in his space divine object and sneak in together. In the end, he thought too much. This method would not work at all. It seemed that he could only implement the final plan and force his way into the imperial capital mountain. Lu Jijin didn't want to give up and carefully asked, the third question and the last question, can we each bring a few subordinates? When Dong Tianchen and the other two heard Lu Jijin's request, they were all eager and looked at the emperor pleadingly. Because if they could bring a few subordinates, friends or family members with them to the secret realm, when there was danger they could help share the burden. The emperor hesitated for a moment. We won't bring many people with us. Each of us won't have more than 10. We're just thinking that we can take care of each other when we're in the secret realm. Please don't worry. We will definitely tell them to keep their mouths shut about the secret realm. If you are still worried, we can even make them swear a blood oath. Lu Jijin said. Your Majesty, I beg you. Dong Tianchen also looked at the emperor pleadingly. Your sixth uncle, just promise us. Dong Xian didn't even address him as Your Majesty. She directly addressed him as a family member and ran to his side. She hugged his arm and looked at him eagerly. She had lost her trump card and was acting like a spoiled child. Little girl, didn't you say that you must call me Your Majesty when someone is around? The emperor smiled helplessly. There are no outsiders here. Dong Xian giggled. Dong Ping glanced at the inner demons and Lu Jijin and pouted. Who said so? Aren't they outsiders? Don't mess with me. The inner demons glared at Dong Ping. Are you looking for trouble? How great. Dong Ping snorted coldly. But in his heart, he was still quite fearful. Sixth uncle, just promise us. We'll talk about it later. Sister Moon Immortal is also going to enter the secret realm. Won't you send some people to protect her? Dong Xian shook the emperor's arm hard. She looked as if she would keep pestering him if he didn't promise her. When the emperor heard this, he was slightly stunned. Seemed to be true. What I said makes sense, right? At that time, if you send people to protect Sister Moon Immortal but don't let us bring people there, people may say that you're biased. Dong Xian giggled. Who dares to say that? The emperor said angrily. Isn't there one here? Dong Xian looked at the inner demon sitting opposite her. The inner demon's face darkened. Getting shot while lying down? The emperor looked at the inner demons and shook his head with a bitter smile. If that was the case, this kid might really scold him behind his back. No, not behind his back. With this kid's character, he dared to scold him in front of his face. At this moment, Lu Jijin actually liked Dong Xian a little. Because when he raised this request, he didn't have much hope at all. But unexpectedly, Dong Xian was actually pestering the emperor. If the emperor agreed because of this, Dong Xian would be his and Qin Feiyang's great benefactor. Stop shaking, you're making me dizzy. The emperor looked at Dong Xian helplessly, and then looked at Dong Tianqin and Dong Ping. The two of them also looked pitiful. He nodded and said, "Okay, I promise you." "Thank you, sixth uncle." Not only Dong Xian, but Dong Tianqin and Dong Ping were also so happy that they forgot themselves and called him sixth uncle. The inner demons and Lu Jijin looked at each other, and were also very excited. In this way they could easily take Qin Feiyang and the others into the secret realm. The emperor looked at Dong Tianqin and the other two with a dark face and said unhappily, "Have some manners, have some manners. I'm the emperor after all." Yes, yes, yes. The three of them nodded and looked at each other. They stood in a row and bowed. "Thank you, your majesty, for your kindness." The emperor smiled bitterly and then said, "Don't be happy too early." Huh. The three of them were instantly stunned. In their hearts they suddenly became nervous. Was he going to change his mind at the last minute? "Each of you can only take 3 people with you. I won't be biased. When the Moon Immortal arrives, I will only send 3 people to protect her," the emperor said. 3. Dong Tianqin and the other 2 were stunned. What was the use of 3? When the inner demons and Lu Jijin heard this, they frowned slightly. How could 3 be enough? One had to know. After entering the secret realm, the space divine item couldn't be opened. In other words, they had to go in themselves. And beside Qin Feiyang, in addition to the lunatic and the white-eyed wolf, there were people like Long Chan, Li Feng, demon ancestor, and Dong Zhongyang. Long Chan, Li Feng, demon ancestor, and the others were all very powerful. If they wanted to go in, they had to go in. Only when everyone was together and joined forces would they have a greater chance of getting the good fortune and more hope of coming out of the secret realm alive. If they could only take 3 people with them, even with Lu Jijin's and inner demons combined, there were only 6 spots. This was not enough at all. This is my bottom line. Don't push your luck. The emperor looked at the few of them, looking a little unhappy. Well, it's better than nothing. Dong Tianqin and the other 2 nodded. They naturally knew the emperor's character better than the inner demons and Lu Jijin. To agree to their request and let them take 3 people in was already the biggest favor. As for this ancient book, you can take a good look at it. 3 days, I believe it's enough for you to finish reading it. After reading it, remember to return it to me, the emperor said. Okay. The 5 of them nodded. Go. The emperor waved his hand. We'll take our leave. The 5 of them got up and bowed, then turned and left. Lu Yunfeng. Suddenly, the emperor called Lu Jijin. Lu Jijin was slightly stunned and turned to look at the emperor suspiciously. You guys go out first. The emperor looked at the inner demons and Dong Xian and the other 2 and said. The 4 of them looked at the emperor and Lu Jijin suspiciously, then turned and left quickly. Dong Xian, something is wrong with you today. Dong Ping transmitted his voice. Something is wrong? Dong Xian was stunned and puzzled. Is it? Yes. I found that you keep staring at Lu Yunfeng. Did he offend you somehow? Dong Ping was suspicious. No. Dong Xian hurriedly shook her head. If he didn't provoke you, then why do you keep looking at him? Dong Ping was puzzled. Dong Xian stammered. Brother, are you stupid? Someone's first awakening of love. Dong Tianqin laughed secretly. Huh. Dong Ping looked at Dong Tianqin in shock. Did this mean that Dong Xian fell in love with Lu Yunfeng? How could it be? In his impression, Dong Xian despised people with different surnames the most. Don't talk nonsense. Dong Xian was also furious, but more than that, she felt guilty. Her eyes seemed to be evasive. Look, she doesn't even dare to look at us. Dong Tianqin said secretly. Dong Ping looked at Dong Xian carefully as he walked, making Dong Xian more and more flustered. Sigh. You've changed. I really didn't expect that you would fall in love with someone with different surnames. Dong Ping sighed secretly. What? I just suddenly have a good impression of him. Don't talk nonsense, okay? Dong Exine was speechless. A good impression is the precursor of a budding relationship. Dong Tianchen said. Is that so? Dong Exine looked a little confused when she heard this. This was because she had never experienced such a thing between a man and a woman, let alone falling in love with a man. After all, she was a proud daughter of God and a descendant of the direct line of the family. Naturally, she had high standards. How could she fall in love with an ordinary man? In the Emperor Palace, the Emperor got up, looked at Lu Jijin and said with a smile, "You have the strongest ability, the most stable character, and the calmest mind. I hope that after entering the mystic realm, you can shoulder the burden and take care of everyone." Me? Lu Jijin was stunned and said with a wry smile, "You're flattering me. I'm afraid I don't have the ability." Don't be too modest. Although I haven't been with you for long, I have always been very good at judging people. You're born to be a great general. I believe that you are the only one who can lead them back alive. The Emperor smiled. Well, I'll try my best. However, I'm afraid that Dong Tianchen and the others may not listen to me. Lu Jijin frowned. Dong Tianchen and the other two were all proud and arrogant people. It was almost impossible for them to listen to him. Don't worry about this. When the time comes, I'll remind them. I'm not joking. Whether it's you two brothers or Dong Tianchen and the other two, you're all the future pillars of our divine kingdom. The death of any one of you is a loss to our divine kingdom. So I'm counting on you. After saying that, the Emperor actually bowed to Lu Jijin. The most important thing was that the fathers of Dong Tianchen and the other two, if the three of them came back alive and got some good fortune, their fathers would definitely be happy. But if they died in the mystic realm, they would definitely pester him endlessly. Your Majesty, please don't. Lu Jijin hurriedly helped the Emperor up. The dignified Emperor of the Central Dynasty, the son of the ruler of the Divine Kingdom, actually bowed to him. He was somewhat flattered. Then, he pondered for a while, looked at the Emperor and said with a smile, "I don't dare to say that I'll bring them back alive, but I'll definitely take care of them." With your words, I'm relieved. The Emperor smiled. The young man in front of him had this kind of charm. What he said could make people feel especially relieved. You're tuning into the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.